Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Facts channel. Tonight, we'll drift slowly into the heart of nature itself, into the soft rhythm of wind and water, of stone and starlight, of everything that has ever lived and rested beneath the same sky. There's something about the natural world that hums quietly in the background of our lives, a kind of whisper that reminds us that everything is connected, everything is patient, and everything moves at its own gentle pace. You can feel it, even now, the quiet vibration of the earth beneath you, the air brushing lightly across your skin, the faint ticking of your own heartbeat in time with the unseen pulse of the planet. All of these are small parts of the same endless rhythm, a rhythm older than thought, older than sound, older than the human word for peace. It is nature's first language, and tonight we are simply listening to it again. So, just take a deep breath, let your shoulders soften, let your eyes grow heavy. You don't have to do anything now. You don't have to think or remember or try. You only have to listen to the stillness that was here long before you arrived, and that will remain long after you sleep. The calm of nature is not something that waits outside your window. It's already within you, moving with every inhale and exhale, like tides against a quiet shore. Somewhere, far beyond the walls that surround you, there is wind moving through forests. It glides between leaves, turning them into a million tiny instruments. Their edges vibrate and sing, creating a kind of natural music that no human ever composed. Yet every creature knows. If you were standing there, you would hear not just sound, but intention, the breath of a planet that has been exhaling for billions of years. Even the silence between the leaves is alive. In the stillness of a forest at dusk, you can almost hear the photosynthesis slowing, the sap thickening, the trees exhaling the oxygen you're about to breathe. It is not a silence of absence, but a silence of fullness, the pause between heartbeats, the patient waiting of the earth as it continues its endless act of creation. Every mountain, every grain of soil, every drop of dew holds a record of that same continuity. The rocks beneath the sea have been folded, melted, and reborn countless times. The air you breathe right now once filled the lungs of ancient animals, passed through the gills of fish, drifted above deserts and oceans, and eventually returned to the gentle pressure of your chest. There is nothing you touch or feel that has not lived 1,000 lives before. Even stillness is a form of movement, when seen through the lens of deep time. It is easy, in the noise of our modern world, to forget that life itself moves slowly. We build clocks and calendars and call them order. But the planet's sense of time is different. It measures in centuries, not seconds. It waits through seasons, not hours. A tree does not rush to grow. It simply continues, day after day, reaching toward light, adjusting its chemistry with each sunrise. Its patience is its strength. Somewhere in the Arctic, a glacier slides forward by only a few centimeters each day, carrying within it trapped bubbles of air from ages before humans ever existed. In those bubbles is ancient breath oxygen from forests that turned to stone, carbon from volcanoes long cooled. Scientists can read these bubbles like a story, tracing the long memory of the atmosphere itself. Even ice remembers. Even it has a voice, slow and crystalline. And as that glacier moves, it releases drops of pure water that once fell as snow centuries ago. That same water may drift down into rivers, move through soil, and find its way into oceans. It will evaporate, rise again into clouds, fall as rain, freeze as snow, and return once more to the glacier from which it began. Nature never ends anything, it only transforms. There are no endings here, only gentle continuations. Even light itself behaves that way. When the sun sets and the world dims, the light doesn't disappear. It scatters, reflects, diffuses through the atmosphere. It bends through air and water, turning into soft color. Every sunset is light being slowed and stretched, its energy dispersed into wavelengths that soothe the eye: amber, rose, violet. The science of it is calm. The sky cools, the world grows dim, and even light seems to exhale. If you could step outside and lie beneath that twilight sky, you might notice that the air itself seems to grow thicker with stillness. Birds settle into branches, insects hum in slow spirals, and the wind quiets into small rhythmic sighs. The planet prepares for sleep in its own way. Every dusk is a reminder that rest is built into the structure of life. There is no constant urgency in the wild, only cycles of activity and release, of doing and being. It is the same rhythm that lives inside you. Every heartbeat expands and contracts. Every breath rises and falls. Every neuron fires and then pauses. The balance of opposites, motion and rest, sound and silence, warmth and coolness is what sustains both nature and the body. To be alive is to move within that gentle symmetry without needing to control it. You are already part of it. In the dark beneath oceans, bioluminescent creatures drift like stars in slow motion. Each pulse of light is both communication and calm, the ocean's own night sky, glowing with organic whispers. In the desert, grains of sand move in patterns so subtle that they seem motionless, but under moonlight, entire dunes breathe in slow waves. In the forest, soil microorganisms turn fallen leaves into life again, working silently while the world above sleeps. Nature is never truly still, and yet it always feels peaceful. That's because its movements are slow, cyclical, self-correcting. Nothing is rushed. The trees don't fight the wind, they bend. The river doesn't resist gravity, it flows. The sky doesn't hold on to clouds, it lets them pass. This is the secret language of balance, the one the world has spoken since before there were words to describe it. If you close your eyes, you can almost hear it. The low hum of wind against stone, the distant rhythm of water meeting shore, the faint electric crackle of life continuing in every unseen corner. Somewhere, lightning strikes a distant mountain, fertilizing soil for future forests. Somewhere else, a seed cracks open, quietly beginning a life that will outlast generations. You are surrounded by these miracles constantly, even when you don't notice them. The physics of a raindrop, the chemistry of air, the geometry of a leaf. All of them are patterns repeating themselves endlessly, seeking only balance, never chaos. Science explains the how, but it cannot fully measure the feeling, that deep reassurance that everything in nature, even destruction, leads back to renewal. And as you listen to these thoughts, drifting between wakefulness and sleep, you might feel that same renewal within you, the slow unwinding of tension, the soft realignment of breath and body. Nature doesn't just exist outside you. It is written into your biology. Your heartbeat echoes the rhythm of tides. Your breath mirrors the cycles of forests. The atoms in your blood were born in stars, cooled in oceans, and carried through clouds before finding their way to you. You are not separate from the calm you seek. You are made of it. So tonight, as the world beyond your walls settles into its ancient rhythm, allow yourself to do the same. Feel the quiet gravity that holds you here. Feel the soft pull of sleep rising like the tide. The earth has been resting for billions of years, and it invites you to rest with it now. Drift with the trees, drift with the stars, drift with everything that has ever learned how to be still. Because in the end, the most relaxing fact about nature is simple. It never hurries. And yet everything is accomplished. The rivers reach the sea. The forests grow back. The dawn always returns. And you, too, are part of that eternal balance breathing, existing, and quietly becoming part of the same endless calm. 1. The planet's quiet heartbeat. Beneath everything that moves or sleeps, beneath the oceans, mountains, and cities, there is a slow and constant rhythm, the quiet heartbeat of the Earth. It is not a sound you can hear with your ears, but one you can feel if you listen with your body. Scientists call it the microsmic hum, a vibration that travels through the ground, created by the gentle but endless forces of wind, waves, and the shifting crust of the planet itself. It's as if the Earth is breathing, exhaling energy in slow pulses that never stop, even when the surface lies still. This planetary hum is not new. It has been there since the beginning, long before humans walked across continents or oceans began to whisper against their shores. It is the background music of existence, the frequency of life itself. The sound is so faint that it passes unnoticed through the soles of your feet as you stand, through the walls of your home, through the roots of trees and the bones of mountains. Yet it is always there, steady and ancient, a rhythm older than the moon. When scientists first detected this vibration, they were surprised to find that it never ceases, even in the calmest moments, when wind has fallen silent and seas are smooth as glass. The Earth continues to hum at frequencies too low for the human ear. Some call it the Earth's heartbeat, others its song. But whatever the name, it is the proof of a living planet, a body in motion, a vast organism shifting and balancing itself across time. Imagine standing on a shoreline at night. The waves move in slow, patient strokes. Each one sends energy deep into the seabed, pressing against the ocean floor with the weight of entire continents. That energy travels inward, through stone and crystal, through molten layers that lie thousands of kilometers below. It bounces and folds upon itself, creating vibrations that circle the globe. Somewhere, on the other side of the world, another shore is humming in response. This is how the planet speaks to itself, not in words or sound, but in resonance. You are part of that resonance too. Every step you take, every breath you draw, sends a faint ripple through the world. Though immeasurably small, it joins the vast orchestra of vibrations that weave through rock, air, and water. To exist on Earth is to contribute to its song. Each heartbeat in your chest is, in a sense, a miniature echo of the planet's deeper pulse. Life, in all its forms, is a pattern of motion and rest, expansion and contraction, the same rhythm, repeated at different scales. If you could place your ear against the ground, not to hear but to feel, you might notice that the Earth's quietest moments are not truly still. The planet is, constantly expanding and contracting with subtle temperature shifts. As the sun warms the land, it stretches. As night cools it, the surface contracts again. Mountains rise and fall by tiny fractions each day, their granite hearts breathing with heat and shadow. Even the crust moves like a slow tide, pulled gently by the moon's gravity. Every ocean wave contributes to this pulse. When billions of waves strike the seabed, their collective pressure drives low-frequency vibrations through the planet. These microseisms travel thousands of kilometers, blending and crossing in complex rhythms. It is a kind of heartbeat that exists without a heart, a pulse that requires no living tissue, only the meeting of air, water, and stone. Sometimes, during great storms far out at sea, these vibrations intensify. The Earth rings like a vast bell, humming more loudly than usual, though still far below the range of human perception. The energy of the wind becomes the energy of the ground, and the entire planet responds with quiet movement. These are the moments when the heartbeat grows stronger, when nature reminds itself that motion is the foundation of existence. Volcanoes, too, contribute their voices to the planetary song. Even when dormant, they rumble with deep, low-frequency tremors, caused by magma moving slowly through chambers beneath the crust. These tremors are not warnings, but whispers, signs that the planet's interior is alive, circulating heat and minerals that will one day rise again as new land. From this constant motion comes renewal. The heartbeat of the Earth is not only a rhythm, but also a process of creation. In this way, the hum of the planet connects everything that exists upon it. The smallest raindrop, falling onto a stone, sends out a tiny vibration that travels through the ground. A single footstep adds to the web of motion. A tree swaying in the wind, a river carving its bed, an animal burrowing into the soil, all become part of the same symphony. The sound is not something separate from life. It is life. Every action, every shift in matter, every exchange of energy is part of this great, unending vibration. There is comfort in this idea. Even when you feel alone, when the world outside grows quiet and your thoughts drift like clouds, you are still moving in harmony with the planet itself. The same rhythm that carries oceans and mountains also carries you. The pulse beneath your ribs is an echo of something vast and eternal. You are part of a conversation that began before time and will continue long after the stars fade. If you close your eyes and imagine the slow pulse of the Earth, you can almost feel its warmth, not as heat, but as presence. Deep within its core, molten iron moves like liquid sunlight, generating the magnetic field that shields all life from cosmic radiation. This churning motion has continued for over 4 billion years, never resting, never ceasing. The movement of that core, invisible yet essential, is another layer of the planet's heartbeat. It is the soundless guardian of life, the soft rhythm beneath every sunrise and storm. Above that core, the mantle flows, though we call it solid. It moves in currents so slow that mountains drift like leaves on a deep river. Entire continents glide across its surface, colliding and parting over epochs. What feels to us like eternity is, to the Earth, a single breath. The hum of tectonic motion is another verse in the song, a deep, subsonic tone that resonates through the crust, shaping valleys, oceans, and ranges. Sometimes, the heartbeat falters. Earthquakes are moments when tension builds and releases, when the slow pulse becomes a sudden shudder. But even then, there is balance. After the rupture, the crust settles once more, returning to its steady rhythm. Like a deep inhale after pain, the planet finds its breath again. The same energy that breaks also heals. It is strange to think that the ground beneath you, which feels so firm, is constantly in motion, rising, falling, expanding, contracting. Every second, the planet's surface is subtly reshaping itself. The heartbeat of Earth is not one of perfection or stillness, but of persistence. It does not rush. It does not sleep. It endures, quietly. If you could listen to that hum, truly listen, it would not sound like noise. It would sound like peace, a tone that never demands, never stops, never fades. It would be the sound of time made gentle, the sound of existence continuing, without need for witness. And when you lie down to rest, when your breath slows and your mind begins to drift toward dreams, that same frequency surrounds you. It moves through your body, through your bones, aligning you with the deeper calm of the world. You are resting not just on the planet, but with it. The rhythm beneath you and within you are one and the same. The most relaxing fact about nature, perhaps, is this: even when all seems still, the Earth never truly stops. It keeps humming softly to itself, holding everything in place through vibration and balance. The heartbeat of the world is your heartbeat too, and to listen for it even in silence is to remember that you belong here. Always have, always will. Two trees communicate through an underground network. Beneath every forest lies a world as alive as the one above it, a hidden city of roots and threads, whispering messages through the soil. When we walk among trees, it is easy to think of them as separate beings, each standing in quiet isolation, unaware of the others. But this is not the truth. Under the surface, beyond what our eyes can see, trees are connected by a vast and intricate web, a living network that allows them to share, to warn, to nourish, and to protect. The forest is not a crowd of individuals. It is one great organism, breathing, feeling, and remembering together. This hidden web is formed by mycorrhizae, thin, delicate filaments of fungi that weave through the soil, wrapping themselves around tree roots. These fungal threads are unimaginably fine, smaller than a human hair, yet they stretch for miles beneath a single forest. Through them, trees exchange nutrients, chemical signals, and even electrical impulses. Scientists call this network the Wood Wide Web, a living system, older and more complex than any human invention. If you could travel down through the soil and follow these threads, you would find yourself moving through tunnels of lightless life filaments glimmering with purpose, branching and fusing like neurons inside a vast, earthen brain. Each tree sends out sugars made through photosynthesis, and the fungi, in turn, trade minerals drawn from the soil. But what is shared goes beyond mere chemistry. Through this connection, trees send messages to one another, signals that can warn of drought, disease, or danger. When one tree is attacked by insects, it releases chemicals through its leaves and roots. Nearby trees, connected by the same fungal threads, receive this message and begin to change their own chemistry, producing bitter compounds that make their leaves less appealing to the invaders. In this way, a forest defends itself as one body. A wound to one part of the system awakens the others. The trees, silent and rooted, respond with a kind of patience that no animal could match. In young forests, small saplings often grow in the shadows of their elders, reaching for light that seldom reaches the ground. And yet, they do not die. They are sustained by the trees above them. The larger trees send carbon and water through their roots, sharing what they have so the young may survive. These elder trees, often called mother trees, act as the beating hearts of the network. They feed, heal, and sometimes even sacrifice for the next generation. When one of them dies, its final act is to release stored nutrients into the soil, sending a pulse of energy through the web, nourishing the life that remains. In this silent network, even death becomes a gift. The fallen trunk of a tree is not an end, but a continuation, a bridge of decay that turns back into nourishment. Fungi bloom from its bark, weaving again into the soil, connecting once more with the living roots that surround it. Energy flows onward, not wasted, not lost, but transformed. The forest endures because it remembers how to share. When scientists first discovered this underground communication, they realized that the language of the forest is one of cooperation, not competition. For centuries, people imagined that trees fought each other for sunlight and space, locked in slow-motion battle. But in truth, they depend on one another. Shade is shared, nutrients are traded, warning signals move across great distances. The forest's strength lies in connection. Every root that touches another becomes part of a greater intelligence. If you pause for a moment in a dense forest and breathe deeply, you can almost feel it, that quiet hum beneath the stillness, the vibration of connection that runs through the soil. You are standing above an immense conversation, one that has been happening for hundreds of millions of years. Each tree is a note in an ancient song, and the fungi are the unseen musicians keeping rhythm beneath the surface. Some trees, like birches and firs, have been observed sharing carbon across species boundaries. The birch will send energy to the fir in winter when its own leaves are gone, and the fir will repay the favor in summer when sunlight is plentiful. It is not ownership, but balance, a trade without greed, a cycle that keeps the forest whole. In this way, Cooperation becomes the foundation of survival. Even isolated stumps, long since cut down, have been found alive underground, their roots still pulsing faintly with life. The neighboring trees keep them alive by sending sugars through the fungal threads, as though unwilling to let them go. What we would call loss, the forest sees as belonging. No tree stands truly alone. Beneath ancient redwoods, beneath birches and oaks, the same system continues in silence. Each night, the flow of carbon and minerals shifts with the temperature of the soil, slowing and quickening with the breath of the forest. It is a kind of circulation, a heartbeat that mirrors the one you carry inside yourself. The earth moves energy through its body, just as you do. The difference is only in pace. If you were to lie down in the forest and press your hand to the ground, you might feel something subtle there. Not motion exactly, but presence. The soil is alive. A handful of forest earth can hold billions of organisms, from bacteria to microscopic threads of fungi, all working together to recycle the past into the future. You are not touching dirt. You are touching a living skin that wraps the planet in memory and renewal. This idea changes everything. To know that the trees speak not in words, but in signals and chemistry, is to understand that intelligence takes many forms. Human thought flows through neurons. Forest thought flows through roots. Both are electrical, both are chemical, both are alive. The trees think in seasons, not seconds. Their awareness moves with the patience of centuries. When lightning strikes and splits a tree, the message of that wound ripples outward through the soil. Nearby trees strengthen their own defenses, adjusting the flow of water and carbon. The fungi shift their growth to balance the loss. Even in destruction, the forest reorganizes itself, maintaining the equilibrium that keeps everything alive. This adaptability is the essence of nature's wisdom, not resisting change, but weaving it into continuity. There is something deeply calming in knowing that this great system moves without haste. The trees do not rush to warn one another. They do not panic. Their communication is slow, deliberate, graceful, measured in hours and days instead of moments. And yet, it works perfectly. Every message arrives when it is needed. Every response fits the scale of the problem. The forest, in its stillness, reminds us that life does not need speed to be strong. In spring, when the thaw begins, the fungi stir again. The ground breathes moisture. New threads extend outward, reaching for roots that will soon awaken. The entire forest pulses with renewal. Nutrients rise, leaves unfurl, and the slow orchestra begins anew. By autumn, the rhythm changes energy, turns downward, returning to the soil, preparing to rest. The trees are not dying, they are exhaling, giving back what they once received. The cycle is complete. To walk through such a place is to walk through something intelligent and kind. The air feels charged with quiet thought. The rustle of leaves is not mere sound but language carried by wind. Somewhere beneath your feet, roots are touching, exchanging the same elements that once flowed through the bodies of stars. And, when night falls, the forest does not sleep as we do. It simply slows. The exchange of signals continues in darkness, soft and steady, like whispers passing through dream. The stars above flicker, and the roots below respond, all part of the same living conversation, the one that connects earth and sky, growth and decay, silence and sound. So the next time you find yourself among trees, listen not just with your ears, but with your awareness. Feel the ground beneath you, the quiet life beneath your feet. Know that you are surrounded by an intelligence that has existed far longer than your species, and that its language is one of care, connection, and calm. The forest teaches a truth that science has only recently begun to measure, that to be alive is to be in communion. Every being, from fungus to leaf to human, is part of the same unbroken circuit. Nothing stands alone. Everything is sharing, supporting, and becoming something greater together. Beneath every root and every step, the world is whispering. And if you listen closely, you'll find that it's saying the same thing over and over again. You are not separate. You never were, and you never will be. 3. The ocean breathes in rhythm. If you stand by the sea and close your eyes, you will feel it before you hear it, that long, unbroken breath. The ocean does not simply move. It inhales and exhales in rhythms that stretch beyond our imagination. Every wave that curls and falls, every tide that rises and retreats, every deep current that circles the globe is part of a single living motion. The ocean breathes, and through it, the planet breathes too. Its pulse is measured not in seconds, but in ages. To watch it is to witness the body of the earth itself, rising and falling in slow, eternal calm. The first breath of the ocean began before life itself, when molten rain cooled on a young world and gathered into basins of blue. Since then, the sea has never stopped moving. Even in its stillness, it is restless. Beneath the glittering surface, colossal rivers flow through darkness, currents guided by heat, gravity, and the rotation of the planet. They drift across thousands of miles, carrying warmth and life from one side of the earth to another. The great ocean conveyor, as scientists call it, moves with the patience of centuries, completing one full circulation in nearly 1,000 years. If the surface waves are the ocean's breathing, then these deep currents are its heartbeat, unseen but essential. Every tide that touches the shore is drawn by the moon's invisible pull. When the moon rises, its gravity reaches out across space, tugging gently at the water, lifting it toward itself. The entire ocean bulges slightly, following that celestial rhythm, as if it were responding to music too faint for our ears. This tidal motion is not just mechanical, it is intimate. The moon and the sea are locked in a quiet dance that has lasted for billions of years. Even the smallest pools along a beach rise and fall with that pull, their silver surfaces remembering the vastness they came from. In this way, the ocean and the moon share something, living a connection of motion and gravity that keeps both in balance. Without the moon's soft guidance, the tides would weaken, the waters would stagnate, and entire ecosystems would fade away. The gentle rise and fall that seems so ordinary is, in truth, one of the most vital patterns on Earth. It is the rhythm that shaped life itself. If you were to sink beneath the surface, you would feel this rhythm continue, not as sound but as pressure, the faint push and release of water shifting around you. The deeper you go, the slower everything becomes. Light fades into blue, then gray, then nothing. Yet even here, far from the touch of air, the water still moves. Internal waves, as tall as mountains, roll silently through the depths, unseen by human eyes. They pass through layers of differing temperature and density, shaping the lives of creatures that drift in that vast dark world. The ocean's breath does not stop where the light ends. It continues endlessly, from the surface shimmer to the abyssal plain. The creatures who live within this endless breath move in time with it. Tiny plankton rise toward the surface each night and sink back into darkness by dawn. The largest migration on Earth, happening every single day. Billions upon billions of living bodies move as one, following the rhythm of light and tide. Fish, whales, and coral all synchronize with the pulse of the water. A whale's call may travel across entire oceans, its deep voice, carried by the density of the sea, echoing through layers of salt and sound. Even silence, here, is full of movement. If you watch the waves long enough, you may notice that no two are ever the same. Each one is shaped by the breath of wind, by distance, by the angle of the seabed beneath it. Some are soft and glassy, some wild and foaming, yet all share the same essence, a conversation between water and gravity. When a wave falls, its energy does not disappear. It travels inward, through the body of the sea, feeding new waves elsewhere. Nothing in the ocean is wasted. Motion begets motion. Breath begets breath. On quiet nights, when the air is still and the stars are mirrored perfectly on the surface, the ocean seems asleep. But even then, beneath the glassy calm, countless currents continue to drift and swirl. Warm water sinks as it cools. Salt changes the weight of water, and gravity sets everything in motion again. It is a slow, tireless exchange, the great circulatory system of the planet. Without it, the world would overheat in some places and freeze in others. The tides, the currents, and the waves together form the breath that keeps the earth alive. Even the chemistry of the sea participates in this rhythm. The ocean absorbs carbon dioxide from the air, turning it into shells, coral, and life. When waves break, they throw tiny droplets back into the atmosphere, carrying salt and microorganisms that shape clouds and weather. The sea exhales moisture, and the sky returns it as rain. In this endless loop, ocean and atmosphere breathe together. Every breath you take carries a trace of this exchange. Oxygen born in plankton blooms, carried by wind across continents, filling your lungs before returning to the world again. There is no true boundary between sea and air, between water and sky. They are mirrors of each other, trading energy and substance in infinite cycles. The same molecules that drift above you as mist may one day sink into trenches miles below. The same droplet that falls as rain on a mountain may, centuries later, become part of a wave washing over coral. The ocean's breath is the story of transformation, patient, ceaseless, and kind. If you listen to the sea closely, you may notice that its rhythm is not entirely even. There are long pauses, gentle swells, and sudden sighs. These variations are not chaos but harmony, the subtle adjustments of balance. When storms pass, the ocean rearranges itself, smoothing the disturbances, folding energy back into its flow. Every motion eventually finds equilibrium again. The sea remembers how to rest. To be near it is to feel that memory stirring in yourself. Your breathing unconsciously slows, aligning with the pattern of the waves. Your thoughts begin to drift, following their rise and fall. You are reminded that you too are made of water, that more than half your body carries the same salt, the same minerals, as the sea. The ocean is not something outside of you. It is something you came from, something still speaking within your blood. Somewhere deep below the surface, near the seafloor, hydrothermal vents release clouds of minerals into the water. Around them, entire ecosystems thrive in the absence of sunlight, nourished by the chemical energy of the Earth's core. Even in complete darkness, life finds rhythm, creatures growing and moving to the same pulse that moves the waves above. The breath of the planet travels from light to shadow, from surface to depth, unbroken. The oldest songs on Earth are written in the sound of water meeting stone, waves carving the same cliffs for millions of years, wearing them smooth, reshaping coastlines grain by grain. This slow, patient erosion is another form of breathing, the exhale of water against land, followed by the inhale of retreating tide. The shore changes, but the motion remains constant. To the ocean, time is circular. What goes out will always return. In the hush between waves, there is a silence so complete that it feels infinite. It is in that stillness that you can truly sense the ocean's calm, the way its vastness absorbs all movement, all sound, all fear. It holds everything and resists nothing. It endures through balance, through rhythm, through patience. When you sleep, your breath becomes like the ocean's, slow, rhythmic, deep. Your body rises and falls with the same grace that moves the tide. You are returning, in those moments, to the oldest pattern there is, the one that began when the first drop of rain met the first basin of stone, the one that continues in every heartbeat, every wave, every breath. The ocean is not merely a body of water. It is the memory of motion itself, the living reflection of balance. It does not rush, it does not hold, it simply moves, forever finding harmony between gravity and grace. To listen to its rhythm is to hear the world remembering how to breathe. And as you rest, letting your own breathing match its eternal flow, you become part of that same vast calm, the quiet inhale and exhale of a planet at peace. 4. Flowers open with the dawn's chemistry. When the first light of morning spills across the horizon, the world seems to wake with it. Yet before the sun is even visible, before birds begin their song or dew begins to evaporate, something delicate is already stirring in the quiet fields. In gardens, meadows, and forests, petals begin to unfurl in the dim blue of dawn. The air grows faintly scented, as if nature itself were taking its first gentle breath of the day. Flowers open not from magic or instinct alone, but through an ancient choreography of chemistry and light. It is a soft science, one written in pigments, hormones, and the language of time. Each bloom is a small clock, keeping perfect rhythm with the turning of the planet. Long before humans built watches or calendars, the flowers already knew how to measure a day. They sense the faintest change in light, the tiniest shift in temperature, and respond as if answering a silent signal from the sun. When darkness fades, certain genes awaken inside their cells, triggering the release of growth hormones that loosen the tissues at the base of each petal. Pressure builds in the microscopic structure of their cells, and the petals begin to push outward. It is not sudden, but it is certain, a gradual unfurling, guided by the chemistry of dawn. This movement is called nyctinisty, a word as soft and strange as the motion itself. Many flowers close at night to protect their pollen from moisture and cold, folding inward like hands in rest. When morning comes, they open again to greet the warmth. It is not a choice, but a memory written into their biology, passed down through countless generations of sunlight and shadow. In every petal lies the remembrance of light, the knowledge that it will return. If you were to watch a meadow in time-lapse, you would see this transformation unfold like a silent wave. Daisies, which closed their white faces in the dark, stretched them wide as the first rays touched them. Tulips, cool and still in the early hours, begin to cup themselves toward the light, as though holding the warmth. Morning glories spiral open like ribbons, revealing color that seems impossible to have existed only moments before. Even water, lilies rise through the surface of their ponds, their petals spreading in a mirror, reflection of the sun climbing above them. The air at dawn is a laboratory of invisible reactions. As the light changes, molecules within each petal absorb specific wavelengths of the new sun. This light energy activates pigments and enzymes, setting off cascades of chemical signals inside the plant's cells. These signals travel through microscopic channels, instructing the petals to open and the scent glands to begin their work. The aroma of morning flowers, that faint sweetness that lingers in the still air, is not simply beauty. It is chemistry made breath. Scent, to a flower, is language. The volatile oils released into the morning air are messages to the world's smallest couriers, the bees, butterflies, and moths who awaken with the sun. To them, the air is filled not with perfume, but with coordinates. Each fragrance tells them where to go, what kind of nectar waits, and which color to look for. The timing of these signals is crucial. Flowers open not at random, but according to the schedule of their visitors. Some bloom only in the first pale hours of light, when bees are most active. Others, like jasmine or moonflowers, wait until evening, releasing their scent into the cool air to call the night's pollinators. Every species has tuned itself perfectly to the rhythm of its world. The warmth of the morning accelerates everything. As sunlight deepens, the petals expand fully, reaching their widest point. Inside, the plant's chloroplasts, tiny green factories, awaken to their daily work. They capture the photons of sunlight and transform them into energy, splitting water molecules and combining carbon dioxide from the air into sugar. This process, photosynthesis, is the quiet miracle that sustains almost all life on Earth. And it begins, each day, with the simple act of opening. The flower turns its face to the light, and the world begins again. In some places, entire landscapes breathe in unison with this pattern. Fields of sunflowers, for instance, track the sun as it moves across the sky, their golden heads turning east to west over the course of the day. This movement is driven by uneven growth in the stem cells. On the shaded side, elongate faster than those in the light, causing the flower to tilt gradually toward the warmth. Even before the sun rises, young sunflowers begin to lean eastward, anticipating the dawn. It is a kind of awareness, a biological expectation of light. There is a moment, just as the sun crests the horizon, when the petals seem to glow from within. Dew clings to their edges, catching the first rays and scattering them into tiny rainbows. This light is not only visible beauty, but also energy being absorbed, photons entering the pigments and energizing electrons that will soon fuel growth. What we see as color is the visible signature of invisible reactions. Each hue, from the deep red of a rose to the blue of a cornflower, is a byproduct of how molecules interact with light. The chemistry of dawn paints the world in color. Even as we watch, we are part of this process. The oxygen in the air around us, released by leaves as photosynthesis begins anew, fills our lungs with every breath. The carbon dioxide we exhale returns to the plants, feeding the cycle. This exchange is silent but endless, a partnership older than the human mind. When we look at a flower opening, we are witnessing not just beauty but reciprocity. The act of blooming feeds us as surely as it feeds the bees. The opening of flowers has long been used as a kind of natural clock. In the 18th century, the Swedish botanist Carl Linnaeus imagined a flower clock, a garden where species were planted according to their blooming times. If arranged correctly, he said, a person could tell the time of day just by looking at which flowers were open. Some began to bloom at 4 a.m., others at 9, others at noon. Earth's rotation was marked by petals instead of gears, sunlight instead of ticking hands. The idea may have been poetic, but it was also scientifically true. Nature's timekeeping is precise. When night comes, the reverse occurs. As the light fades and temperature drops, the chemical pathways that held the petals open begin to close. Water shifts within their cells, pressure decreases, and the flowers slowly fold inward again. It is not sleep in the way we understand it, but rest all the same. A flower closing at dusk is simply conserving energy, guarding pollen, preparing to begin again. The rhythm of opening and closing is a heartbeat written in color and motion, a gentle reminder that rest is part of life's design. If you watch long enough, you'll see that no flower opens in isolation. The entire ecosystem stirs with it. Bees awaken in their hives, drawn by scent. Birds emerge from nests, chasing the insects that feed on pollen. The air fills with small, purposeful movements. Dawn is not a moment, but a wave energy spreading outward from light to leaf, from petal to wing. Even the soil responds, as temperature shifts cause subtle changes in the activity of microbes below. The chemistry of morning is not limited to flowers. It is the awakening of everything. And when we stand among them, breathing in that faint perfume, we become part of the same equation. The calm that fills us as the light grows is the same calm that moves through the plants themselves, a physiological harmony between body and environment. To wake with the world is to remember our place within it. There is something profoundly peaceful about knowing that every morning, without effort or hesitation, the flowers will open. Clouds may come, rain may fall, the seasons may turn, but the rhythm remains unbroken. The sun will rise, and the petals will unfold, offering their colors to whatever life may pass by. It is a simple truth, but one that soothes the mind. Nature never forgets its timing. It never forgets to begin again. As you imagine the soft unfolding of petals in the early light, allow your own breath to mirror it. Inhale gently, as if the air were opening you from within. Exhale as the flowers close again at dusk. In this quiet rhythm, you are not separate from the world, but part of its most ancient ritual, the daily bloom of life itself. 5. Rain has a distinct, soothing scent. There is a moment, just before rain begins, when the air itself seems to pause. The wind stills, the light softens, the world grows expectant, as though holding its breath. And then it comes the first drop, darkening the dust, followed by another and another, until the rhythm becomes music. As the rain touches the earth, a scent rises rich, familiar, and impossibly calming. It is the smell of life renewed, of the planet exhaling. It is the perfume of rain. This fragrance has a name, petrichor. The word was coined in the 1960 seconds by two scientists, Isabel Joy, Baer and R.G. Thomas, who sought to describe the scent that emerges when rain falls on dry soil. The term comes from Greek petra, meaning stone, and ichor, the fluid said to flow through the veins of gods. The phrase means, quite literally, the blood of stone. It captures something essential about rain's aroma, that it feels both earthly and divine, as if the planet itself were alive enough to bleed its memories into the air. The source of this scent lies hidden within the soil. When long days of sun dry the ground, certain plants release oils that coat the surface of stones, leaves, and dust. These oils contain complex organic molecules that rest quietly until the first drops of rain arrive. When water strikes the earth, it breaks these layers apart, releasing tiny airborne particles into the atmosphere. Among them is a compound called geosmin, produced by bacteria in the soil known as actinomycetes. Geosmin carries the deep, earthy note that defines the smell of rain, a scent so sensitive that humans can detect it at concentrations of just a few parts per trillion. To our senses, it is as though the planet has begun to breathe again. As raindrops land, they trap air inside and create microscopic bubbles that burst upward, flinging these particles into the wind. Each droplet becomes a tiny messenger, delivering the smell of renewal to everything it touches. That first breath you take when rain begins, that subtle sweetness mixed with earth, is not just an aroma. It is the physical signature of life interacting with water. It is soil remembering the sky. There is a strange comfort in this scent, one that transcends cultures and languages. It awakens something ancient inside us, a memory from before we had words. Our ancestors depended on rain. It was the difference between famine and growth, between life and dust. To smell the approach of a storm was to feel relief, gratitude, and awe. Perhaps that is why petrichor so easily calms the mind, because deep within, our bodies still recognize it as the smell of survival. Rain does more than moisten the ground. It rearranges the air. As drops fall, they pull particles downward, cleansing the sky of dust and pollen. Negative ions are released, increasing the charge of the atmosphere and giving that faint, metallic freshness that accompanies a storm's arrival. These ions have been shown to subtly affect mood and focus, slowing the pulse, deepening the breath. The calm that settles over us when rain begins is not imagined. It is chemical, written into the interaction between air and water, storm and soil, body and mind. If you listen closely, you can hear the rhythm that follows. Rain strikes leaves and rooftops, puddles and rivers, playing an infinite percussion that seems both random and organized. Each droplet finds its place in a symphony too vast to repeat. No two storms sound alike, yet every one carries the same quiet reassurance. Even thunder, distant and low, feels less like anger and more like a heartbeat echoing across the horizon. The scent of rain changes depending on where it falls. In deserts, where long months pass between storms, petrichor is intense. The first drops striking sun-baked earth release a flood of fragrance so thick it almost has weight. In forests, the smell is softer, mingled with the resin of pine and the breath of moss. By the ocean, it merges with salt and the metallic tang of sea spray. Every landscape has its own variation of this song, tuned to the chemistry of its soil and the rhythm of its climate. Yet wherever it falls, it carries the same sense of return as if the earth was sighing in gratitude. Rain has another scent too, one that arrives not before but after the storm. When the clouds pass and the sun begins to reappear, the warmth awakens the wet ground, causing new waves of fragrance to rise. This is the smell of renewal leaves, rinsed clean of dust, soil enriched with minerals, air thick with oxygen and promise. The cycle is complete. The sky gives, the earth receives, and then offers itself back in scent. For the plants, this exchange is not merely aesthetic. The rain carries dissolved nutrients, microscopic minerals, and traces of nitrogen from the air. When it reaches the ground, these elements sink into roots, feeding the hidden networks below. Fungi, bacteria, and roots awaken in response, sending out signals through the soil. Each drop of rain becomes a message of abundance, a reminder that the cycle of growth continues. The smell we perceive as beauty is, for them, the signal of life resuming its work. In some parts of the world, monsoon rains define entire cultures. The first storms of the season arrive after months of heat, and the smell of wet earth fills the air long before the clouds release their burden. Poets and farmers alike describe that scent with reverence. It marks the turning of time, the moment when the land begins to live again. In India, clay pots called mitti attar are baked in the sun to trap this fragrance. When rain finally falls, the scent is distilled and preserved, bottled as the essence of renewal itself. Even when the skies are clear, a single breath from that bottle can recall the memory of rain. Science explains the cause of petrichor, but the feeling it evokes cannot be reduced to chemistry. It touches something emotional, a gentle melancholy, a reflective peace. Rain brings stillness, softening the edges of the world. Roads darken, colors deepen, and sounds grow closer. Even voices seem quieter, absorbed by the air's new weight. In the hush that follows, thoughts settle like drops gathering on a window pane. There is no rush in the rain's tempo. It reminds us that everything in nature, even change itself, can arrive gently. If you stand in that calm, letting the scent surround you, you might notice how it blends with memory. The smell of rain is always tied to time, to places we once stood, to moments of solitude or joy. It is the scent of childhood storms, of windows fogged by breath, of waiting for thunder to roll. It is a fragrance of beginnings, because it has always meant renewal. When the rain finally ends, the world feels washed clean. The light returns softer, as though filtered through the scent itself. Trees glisten, streets shimmer. The air carries the last traces of geosmin and ozone, fading slowly into warmth. And in that moment, as you breathe deeply, you might feel something small but certain, awaken within you a kind of gratitude, wordless but deep. The same gratitude the soil feels when touched by water, the same peace the air feels when it cools. Rain, at its heart, is not just weather. It is a cycle, a cleansing, a reminder. It shows that endings are never final, that every dry season leads back to renewal, and every drought carries the memory of water. The scent it leaves behind is more than perfume. It is a promise that balance always returns. The earth dries, the air thickens, the sky opens, and life begins again. So the next time you smell that first hint of rain, pause, let it fill your lungs. You are breathing in the chemistry of connection, soil, sky, and storm merging into one timeless rhythm. The same molecules that brushed ancient forests now reach you, unchanged. The earth has been exhaling this fragrance for millions of years. And in that breath, that faint sweetness rising from stone and soil, you are reminded of something simple and true. The world remembers how to heal itself. And so, in its quiet way, it teaches you to do the same. 6. The air glows at night. When night falls, we often imagine that the sky goes dark, that light retreats beyond the edge of the world and leaves the atmosphere in silence. Yet even in the deepest hours, when the stars seem to hang motionless and the world has grown still, the air above us continues to shine. It is not the harsh radiance of daylight or the silver wash of moonlight, but something far subtler, a veil of faint luminescence that never ceases. This is the phenomenon known as air glow, the quiet shimmer of the planet itself. To most eyes, it is invisible, drowned out by city lights and clouds. But it is always there, whispering softly in the spectrum of color that human vision rarely reaches. If you could rise high enough above the noise of civilization and look up at the night sky from a desert or the open ocean or a mountaintop, you might see it, a faint green or red haze, hovering far above the horizon, rippling like breath. It moves slowly, patient as sleep. It is not moonlight, not reflection, not aurora, but the air itself glowing gently from within. This light is born from chemistry, a constant exchange between the molecules that surround us and the sunlight that departed hours ago. Even when the sun has set, its energy lingers, stored in atoms that cannot help but release it again, one photon at a time. The air glows because the upper layers of the atmosphere never truly rest. During the day, high-energy ultraviolet radiation from the sun strikes oxygen, nitrogen, and other gases, exciting their atoms, splitting molecules apart, charging them with potential energy. When night arrives and the sunlight fades, those molecules begin to recombine, releasing the energy they absorbed as tiny flashes of light. To our eyes, these emissions blend into a continuous sheen, a planetary afterglow. In this way, the Earth keeps a faint memory of day, burning softly against the darkness of space. The glow forms nearly 100 kilometers above the surface, at the boundary between air and the edge of space. There, the atmosphere is so thin that atoms rarely meet, yet when they do, their collisions are luminous. Each reaction releases light of a specific color: green from oxygen, red from atomic oxygen higher still, and blue from excited nitrogen. The combined effect is a delicate gradient, as if the sky itself were painted in quiet, breathing hues. The colors shift with time and altitude, pulsing gently with the slow tides of air that circle the planet. Unlike the aurora, which flares and dances near the poles when solar winds disturb the magnetosphere, airglow is constant. It belongs to every night, in every place, a universal radiance that connects all skies. The aurora is an event. Airglow is a condition, the steady heartbeat of the atmosphere. It reveals that even when the world sleeps, the heavens above are at work, transforming energy into beauty with every passing moment. Sometimes, astronauts aboard the International Space Station Photograph this luminous veil. From orbit, the Earth is wrapped in a thin green band that traces the curve of the planet. It is fragile and stunning, a line of light separating sea from space. Through that boundary flow the gases that sustain life, oxygen for breath, nitrogen for balance, ozone for protection. To see it from above is to see the planet's skin glowing, faintly, as if alive. This thin membrane holds every wind, every storm, every whisper of air that has ever passed through a lung. And even at night, it cannot help but shine. Closer to the surface, the light is too faint to see, but it touches us in subtle ways. It scatters through the upper atmosphere, bending through layers of air and dust, softening the stars. It is what gives the night sky its depth, the reason it is never perfectly black, even in the absence of the moon. This glow reflects the persistence of sunlight, the way energy refuses to vanish but instead lingers, diffused and gentle. The darkness we think we see is, in truth, filled with light too soft for our eyes to perceive. Imagine lying on a quiet hillside far from towns and roads, the night air cool and steady around you. Above, the Milky Way stretches like a river of ancient sparks. What you cannot see is the invisible ocean of light between those stars, the faint green whisper that fills the gaps. If your eyes could reach just a little farther into sensitivity, the entire dome above would appear to shimmer like phosphorescent water. The planet itself is glowing through its breath, painting the sky with its own energy. The rhythm of air glow shifts with the seasons. In summer, it grows brighter, stirred by the heating of the upper atmosphere. In winter, it dims, its pulse slower, its colors more subdued. Waves of light sometimes ripple through it, born of invisible currents that rise and fall with changing temperatures. These are called gravity waves, not the cosmic kind that ripples space-time, but atmospheric undulations that move through air like swells through the sea. They bend the glowing layers into patterns that drift and shimmer. Through them, scientists can trace the movements of the atmosphere, the breathing of the planet made visible. It is easy to forget that air itself is alive with motion. Even when the wind has stilled at the ground, higher layers are in constant flux. Molecules collide, separate, exchange energy, emit photons, and begin again. Each flicker is small, almost nothing, but together they weave a light so vast it circles the world. Airglow reminds us that stillness is an illusion. What seems quiet is filled with motion too subtle to hear. Long ago, sailors and travelers described strange nighttime glows on the horizon, believing them to be signs from the gods, or distant fires, or reflections from unseen lands. They did not know they were witnessing the planet itself illuminated. Even now, when we understand the science, the feeling remains, that sense of wonder, of softness, of something both scientific and sacred. For knowledge does not erase beauty, it deepens it. To know that oxygen atoms, high above the clouds, are gently colliding to release this radiance, is to feel the intimacy of physics, the tenderness of light itself returning home. Sometimes, during meteor showers, this constant glow becomes briefly disturbed. The tiny grains of cosmic dust streaking through the atmosphere add new energy, stirring the upper air into brighter flashes. The sky shivers, but once the meteors pass, equilibrium returns. The air exhales its light again, as steady as breath. The glow does not compete with the stars, it cradles them. It softens their brightness, blending cosmic fire with earthly radiance into one quiet composition. The air that glows above us by night is the same air that fills our lungs by day. It carries the whispers of oceans, forests, mountains, and cities. Every breath you take once, drifted among the atoms, now releasing this soft light. You are part of that same exchange, inhaling, exhaling, glowing in your own way. Life, too, is a kind of air glow, the release of energy stored in every heartbeat, every thought, every small motion. You shine from within, just as the atmosphere does, quietly and continuously. There is comfort in knowing that the planet never goes completely dark, even when clouds cover the stars. Even when the night feels absolute, something luminous endures above us, unseen but real. It is the Earth's promise to itself that every day will leave behind a trace of light, that every dusk carries the memory of dawn. So when you look at the sky tonight, remember that it is not empty. Beyond the darkness, beyond the stars, the air itself is glowing softly, keeping watch while the world sleeps. The same photons that once danced across your face in daylight are now rising again, transformed, tender, eternal. The sky never truly forgets the sun. It simply holds its light in silence, letting the night breathe in color too gentle for the waking eye. 7 bioluminescent waves illuminate the sea. There are nights when the ocean seems to dream in color. From a distance, it appears calm and dark, its surface a mirror for the stars above. But when you step closer, when your feet touch the water, or a wave breaks upon the sand, the sea begins to glow. Ripples turn to ribbons of blue fire. Foam blossoms with light. Each movement becomes a trail of silent radiance, vanishing and reappearing as if the sea itself were breathing out starlight. This phenomenon, soft and strange, is called bioluminescence, life-creating light. It is one of the oldest forms of illumination on Earth. Long before the first flame burned or the first moon reflected its light, there were organisms in the ocean that could glow. Their bodies evolved to make light not from heat or reflection, but from chemistry. Inside each tiny creature, molecules meet in a perfect balance of oxygen, luciferin, and luciferase, a pigment and an enzyme combining to release a photon, the smallest unit of light. This reaction is perfectly efficient. Almost no energy is lost as warmth. Every flash, every spark, every glowing wave is a whisper of chemistry, a conversation between matter and energy that has been happening for hundreds of millions of years. The creatures responsible are often invisible in daylight. Many are plankton, single-celled drifters that float near the surface of the water, too small to see but too numerous to imagine. On nights, when the temperature, salinity, and moonlight align, they gather in countless numbers. When disturbed by a wave, a breeze, or the brush of a swimmer's hand, they glow in unison. The result is otherworldly. A sea alive with moving light, a surface that remembers every motion. Even the smallest fish leaves behind a comet trail of blue as it darts through the dark. If you've ever walked along a bioluminescent beach, you may remember the feeling and that quiet astonishment, as if you were walking across the sky itself. Each footprint ignites, shining for a heartbeat before fading. The foam glows where it touches the shore, and the retreating tide pulls ribbons of light back into the sea. There is no sound but the hush of waves and the faint crackle of water meeting sand. It feels like witnessing something secret, something meant only for the night. The glow serves a purpose beyond beauty. For some organisms, it is a form of defense. When startled, they release light to confuse predators or to call attention to larger hunters that might chase the attacker away. For others, it is a lure, a flicker designed to attract prey. Deep beneath the surface, where sunlight never reaches, creatures have evolved entire languages of light. Some use it to communicate, flashing coded signals to one another. Others use it to see, to hunt, or to find a mate. In the darkness of the deep, where eyes have adapted to the faintest glimmers, bioluminescence is life's way of keeping connection. The ocean at night is never truly dark. Even in the deepest trenches, where pressure would crush steel, there are sparks of life glowing quietly, a pulse here, a flicker there, like stars scattered across an unseen sky. Each glow is both fragile and enduring, powered by molecules so small they could fit inside a single cell, yet bright enough to be seen across miles. It is light born not of fire or electricity, but of biology, proof that the desire to shine exists even in the most hidden corners of existence. In shallow bays, the phenomenon can be spectacular. There are places where every stroke of a paddle, every movement of a fish, every turn of the current sets the entire surface shimmering. In Puerto Rico's Mosquito Bay, in the Maldives, in the waters of Japan and Vietnam, travelers stand in awe as the sea transforms into liquid sapphire beneath their touch. Yet this wonder is not rare or isolated. It is global. Every ocean carries within it the potential for this glow, waiting for the right balance of life, temperature, and calm. The color most often seen is blue, the hue of deep water and the wavelength that travels farthest through the sea. But in some species, the light is green, or even red. Each color is tuned to the environment, evolved to reach the eyes of specific creatures. Some fish can see red light, invisible to others, giving them private communication in the blackness. Some emit flashes so fast that only their own kind can interpret them. Beneath the waves, it is not chaos, but conversation. 1,000 tiny dialogues written in luminescence. Scientists have studied these lights not just for their beauty, but for what they can teach us. The proteins responsible for bioluminescence have been used to illuminate the inner workings of living cells, helping researchers trace disease, track genes, and observe the most delicate processes of life. The glow that once only shimmered in the sea now shines within microscopes, revealing the invisible. What began as a tool for survival in the dark has become a way for humans to understand the light inside themselves. When storms pass over the ocean, waves churn up deeper layers of water, bringing dormant plankton to the surface. Afterward, the sea seems to glitter more brightly than before, as if refreshed. The sea brightness of bioluminescence can vary with the weather, the moon, and even the tide. On moonless nights, when the stars are the only other source of light, the glow becomes most vivid. It is as though the ocean waits for darkness to express itself fully. In that quiet void, it reveals its hidden fire. If you could dive into one of these glowing bays, the world around you would become something between dream and reality. Every bubble you release would light up as it rises. Your hands would leave trails of blue mist. Each motion would echo through light, and for a brief moment, you would see the true depth of connection between motion and energy, between touch and illumination. Then, as stillness returned, the glow would fade, not extinguished, but resting, waiting for the next disturbance to awaken it. Bioluminescence is fleeting, but that impermanence is what makes it so peaceful. It appears without warning and vanishes without trace, like a sigh. It reminds us that beauty in nature often exists in moments, a brief intersection of conditions that will never repeat exactly again. The same molecules that glow tonight will drift and divide tomorrow, their descendants carrying the same code of light into future tides. The ocean's luminescence is both temporary and eternal, like memory itself. At its core, this glow is a story about transformation. Chemical energy becomes visible light, invisible darkness becomes radiance, and the boundary between living and elemental blurs. The sea, so vast and cold, becomes warm with life. The darkness, so infinite, becomes gentle. And in that gentle light, we recognize something of ourselves, the quiet desire to be seen, to leave a trace, to shine even when surrounded by shadow. When you stand at the edge of such a glowing sea, watching the waves roll in like soft blue embers, you are witnessing the Earth's oldest language. It speaks not through sound or speech, but through color and rhythm. It says that even in silence, there can be expression. Even in darkness, there can be light. The ocean does not need to burn to illuminate. Its glow comes from harmony, from balance between elements that find each other in perfect proportion. It is a reminder that illumination does not always mean brightness. Sometimes it means gentleness, the quiet radiance that exists when life simply does what it was meant to do. So if one night you find yourself standing on a dark shore and the sea begins to shine beneath your feet, pause. Watch the waves move like breathing stars. Know that you are seeing not just light, but life, ancient, patient, and endlessly renewing. The ocean glows because it remembers that creation and calm can coexist. And as you watch, perhaps you'll feel that same truth rise softly within you, that even in your quietest depths, there is light waiting to be stirred, and that every small movement, every ripple of being, is enough to make the whole world shine. 8 snowflakes form. Perfect symmetries in silent snow falls differently than rain. It does not strike or splash or rush to the ground. It drifts. It hesitates. It seems to consider the air it passes through, moving in slow spirals rather than in lines. And in that gentle descent, something miraculous happens. The sky becomes a sculptor, and from invisible vapor, it shapes a million unique crystals, each one a small miracle of geometry and patience. Snowflakes form in silence, and yet within their stillness lies one of nature's most intricate and astonishing designs. Every snowflake begins as a speck of dust, a fragment of something ordinary, perhaps a grain of soil, a piece of ash, a drifting particle of salt. High in the clouds, where the air is far below freezing, water vapor clings to this tiny seed. The molecules arrange themselves in a hexagonal pattern, because that is the shape most natural to water's molecular structure. The 6-sided symmetry is a reflection of hydrogen bonds aligning in perfect balance. From that initial pattern, the crystal begins to grow, branch by branch, each arm mirroring the others in exquisite precision. The air around the growing crystal is never uniform. Tiny variations in humidity, temperature, and movement cause small changes in how the ice accumulates. One side may meet slightly warmer air, another might drift through a cooler current. These microclimates, shifting moment to moment, create differences so delicate they can never repeat. The result is that every snowflake, though built on the same underlying geometry, becomes unique, a singular expression of the laws of physics, shaped by chaos and chance. The symmetry of a snowflake is not imposed by design but emerges naturally from balance. Each branch of the crystal grows at the same rate because it experiences the same conditions. If one arm meets a fluctuation of humidity, the others follow suit through molecular correspondence. This feedback creates harmony without a plan, order without control. What we see as perfect design is simply nature finding equilibrium, an echo of the same mathematical laws that shape galaxies, shells, and the spiral of a fern. When snow begins to fall, it transforms the world into a study in stillness. Sound becomes muffled, footsteps vanish into softness, and the air seems to grow thicker with calm. The flakes drift and twist, each one rotating slowly as it falls, catching light in brief flashes before settling onto another. If you hold out your hand and let one land upon your skin, it will exist for only an instant before melting a masterpiece gone in a heartbeat. Yet that moment is complete. The flake has traveled from vapor to crystal to water again, completing its brief, delicate life cycle. Under a microscope, snowflakes reveal astonishing diversity. Some are simple hexagonal plates, thin and smooth as glass. Others are elaborate stars with branches that split and curl in fractal complexity. There are columns like frozen, needles, hollow tubes like tunnels of ice, and dendrites that resemble miniature trees. Each type forms under different atmospheric conditions, some at higher altitudes, some in warmer air, some in storms where temperatures fluctuate wildly. The snow that drifts through a still, cold night may differ entirely from the snow that falls during a coastal storm, yet all belong to the same family of frozen art. The air inside a snowstorm is alive with invisible architecture, millions of flakes forming at once, each tracing its own six-fold pattern through the cloud. They collide, break, rejoin, and tumble downward. Some melt and refreeze mid-fall, building new shapes within old ones. By the time they reach the ground, they have lived a long journey of transformation. Beneath their beauty lies physics, the simple dance of molecules responding to the pull of energy and entropy. Yet when we watch them fall, none of that complexity feels mechanical. It feels sacred. Snowflakes remind us that perfection can come from impermanence. They are formed through the same conditions that will destroy them. The cold air that will eventually warm, pressure that will turn them back into vapor. They are temporary, yet their transience is their purpose. They exist not to last, but to show what beauty looks like when creation is allowed to be brief. The silence of falling snow is the sound of matter becoming art and returning to itself again. When snow blankets the earth, the transformation is total. The hard lines of the world soften. Trees stand hushed under layers of white. Roads and fields merge into one quiet landscape. Even the air feels slower, the light diffused into a luminous haze. The world becomes monochrome, yet within that apparent simplicity lies infinite detail. Each snowflake contributes its structure to the blanket of snow, locking together in patterns that trap air and insulate the ground beneath. Entire ecosystems depend on this seeds, preserved through winter, roots protected from freezing, small animals burrowed into the warmth of the snowpack. The softness we see hides resilience and precision. Scientists have discovered that the patterns of snowflakes can reveal information about the atmosphere from which they came. Their shapes record humidity levels, temperature gradients, and even the turbulence of the air. In this way, snowflakes are tiny archives of the sky, each one carrying a record of its birth through space and time. When they fall together, they become a message written in white, a quiet record of the weather's invisible hand. In certain rare conditions, snow can fall as diamond dust, tiny ice crystals that form directly from vapor in calm, clear air. They shimmer as they descend, catching sunlight and moonlight alike, filling the sky with slow-moving glints. In the polar regions, where temperatures are low enough, this phenomenon can last for hours. The world seems suspended in a dream of light, every particle of air transformed into a floating crystal. Even here, in the most desolate cold, nature finds a way to express beauty through stillness. When morning comes after a night of snow, the world glows differently. Light bounces off every surface, turning shadows into soft gradients of blue and gold. The air smells clean, purified by cold. Beneath the surface, the snow continues to change, compressing, settling, fusing into ice. What was delicate becomes solid. What was ephemeral becomes enduring. In this transformation lies another lesson, that fragility and strength are not opposites, but stages of the same process. The snowflake that melts upon your hand may feed a river months later. Nothing in nature is lost. There is an almost meditative rhythm to watching snow fall. Each flake follows its own invisible path, buffeted by currents too subtle to see. Together, they form a movement that feels slow, but is in fact immensely complex, billions of trajectories, each affected by temperature, pressure, and wind. Yet from this infinite variability emerges an effect so simple, so peaceful, that it quiets the mind. The brain, which spends its days interpreting noise and motion, finally finds something it does not need to analyze. Snow does not demand attention. It invites surrender. If you close your eyes and listen, you can hear what silence really sounds like. The soft hiss of air carrying crystals downward, the muted contact of flakes meeting earth, the distant rhythm of falling. This is the sound of balance, of motion so even and dispersed that it erases itself. It is the sound of peace written in the language of matter, and when you stand in that stillness, you become part of it. Your breath mingles with the cold air. Your heartbeat slows, and for a moment you share the snow's serenity. You, too, are made of patterns and elements, of molecules arranged by temperature and time. The same water that forms a snowflake once passed through clouds, oceans, and living cells. It will pass through you as well, continuing its endless cycle of transformation. Each flake that lands upon the ground joins countless others, creating a continuity of form that stretches across landscapes and ages. Snow may fall differently every time, but its purpose remains constant: to remind the world to rest, to slow the rhythm of rivers, to hush the forests, to cradle the seeds that wait for spring. The symmetry of snow is not only visual, it is emotional. The balance between motion and pause, between life's insistence and its surrender. In the end, every snowflake melts, every storm clears, and the earth reawakens. But the memory of their beauty lingers, not as a photograph or a pattern, but as a feeling, that fleeting recognition of perfection in the transient. Snow teaches us that harmony can exist without permanence, that silence can be full of meaning, and that nature's most intricate art is born not from noise or heat, but from stillness and cold. When the next snowfall begins, look closely at what drifts past your window. Each flake is a tiny universe, 6 arms of symmetry carrying the memory of air and time. They fall without sound, without struggle, each one different, yet each one belonging completely. Together, they create a world remade, quiet, radiant, and alive in its silence. And as you watch, perhaps you'll feel something stir within you, something that mirrors that symmetry, a gentle balance, a brief but perfect peace. 9. The forest breathes with you. If you stand in a forest long enough, you begin to notice something that is not immediately visible, but deeply felt: the sensation that the entire world around you is breathing. The trees sway gently, leaves shift in unseen rhythms, the air moves in slow tides between branches. There is a pulse beneath the stillness, as if the forest itself has lungs, and in a way, it does. Every tree, every fern, every blade of moss contributes to a shared respiration, a vast and patient exchange between life and atmosphere. When you inhale, the forest exhales. When you exhale, the forest inhales. You are not apart from it. You are participating in its breath. The science of this harmony is simple, yet profound. During the day, sunlight falls upon leaves, awakening a process that has shaped every living thing on Earth: photosynthesis. Within the green cells of a leaf, photons from the sun excite electrons, beginning a cascade of reactions that split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen drifts into the air, while the hydrogen combines with carbon dioxide to form sugars, the quiet fuel of life. What feels like a tranquil grove of trees is in fact a great living engine, transforming light into breath, energy into being. Every second, the forest converts sunlight into oxygen, filling the world with invisible life. The rhythm of this process is steady and ancient. As long as light touches the leaves, the exchange continues, the forest inhaling carbon dioxide, exhaling oxygen, maintaining the balance that makes all existence possible. When night comes, the pattern reverses. Without sunlight, the trees pause their photosynthetic work. They begin to breathe as we do, consuming oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. Yet the forest as a whole remains in balance. What it absorbs by day, it returns by night. This endless oscillation of breath, mirrored across billions of leaves, is the heartbeat of the biosphere. If you were to measure the gases in the air above a forest canopy, you would see them rise and fall like waves in time with the sun. Oxygen levels peak in the afternoon, when the forest is most awake, then gently decline toward dawn. Carbon dioxide follows the opposite curve. This daily cycle is so consistent that satellites can detect it from space. Even at a planetary scale, Earth seems to inhale and exhale each day, the forests acting as its lungs. Walking beneath the canopy, you become part of this exchange. Every breath you take mingles with the breath of trees. The oxygen that enters your lungs may have left a leaf only seconds before. In return, the carbon dioxide you release may soon be drawn up through a root and transformed into a molecule of sugar, fueling new growth. The air is not simply around you, it is shared, circulated, and renewed by everything that lives. Every inhale is a moment of communion, a blending of your life with the greater body of the planet. It is easy to forget that air is alive with movement. We think of it as emptiness, but it is full of drifting molecules, pollen, spores, and microscopic droplets of water. Sunlight strikes them and scatters into color, creating the soft green glow that filters through leaves. The air carries the scent of soil, the chemical messages of trees, the faint perfume of sap and bark. When you breathe deeply in a forest, you are not just taking in oxygen, you are inhaling information, the coded signals of thousands of species communicating in silence. Trees release compounds called phytoncides, natural aerosols that protect them from bacteria and insects. When we breathe them, our bodies respond in kind. Studies have shown that spending time in forests lowers blood pressure, reduces stress hormones, and strengthens the immune system. The calm we feel among trees is not only emotional, it is physiological, born from the ancient chemical dialogue between plant and animal. We are designed to feel peace in the presence of trees because we evolved within their breath. The forest's respiration is mirrored in its motion. The branches sway, not only because of the wind, but because the air itself expands and contracts with temperature. Warm air rises through the canopy during the day, carrying moisture and scent upward. At night, cool air sinks back toward the forest floor, bringing with it the fragrances of soil and root. This slow vertical flow is another form of breathing, connecting the sky and the earth through invisible tides. When you listen closely, you can hear the forest's breath translated into sound. The rustling of leaves is the voice of wind, moving through layers of air shaped by trunks and branches. Each sound has a texture, the whisper of pine needles, the murmur of oak leaves, the hiss of birch. These sounds are not random. They form a kind of music, orchestrated by the structure of the trees and the density of the forest. To walk within it is to move through a symphony of respiration. Beneath the ground, another exchange continues. Tree roots draw water and minerals from the soil, while releasing carbon compounds that feed fungi and bacteria. These microorganisms, in turn, decompose organic matter, releasing nutrients and gases that re-enter the atmosphere. Even the forest floor breathes, exhaling carbon dioxide through billions of tiny pores in the soil. In some ways, the ground is as alive as the canopy above it, a mirror of the sky turned downward, glowing not with light, but with chemical activity. When mist moves through a forest, it reveals the breath that is always there but usually unseen. The tendrils of fog drift and curl, tracing the invisible currents that pass between trees. Each exhalation of warm air from the ground rises and meets the cooler air above, forming patterns that flow like smoke. In those moments, you can see the living atmosphere take shape, the air pulsing with motion, the the world itself breathing around you. The balance between human breath and forest breath is intimate and unbroken. The oxygen that fills your lungs at this very moment might once have passed through the leaves of an Amazonian tree, or a pine in the Arctic, or a reed beside a distant river. The molecules remember their paths, cycling endlessly between plant and animal, sea and sky. Life is a continuous exchange of gases, a quiet collaboration between all that grows and all that moves. There is no true separation between your breath and the forest's only rhythm. In the stillness of morning, when the first light touches the canopy and dew steams from the leaves, the forest breathes in deeply. The air becomes sweet, saturated with new oxygen and scent. The same happens within you when you take a long, calm breath, a renewal that clears the mind and settles the body. The forest does not teach this rhythm, it embodies it. And when you are near, your body remembers. Sometimes, as the sun sets and the light softens, the forest's breathing slows. The temperature drops, the wind fades, and the air grows thick and still. You might feel a matching stillness in yourself, a slowing of thought, a weightless calm. You are synchronized with the trees, both responding to the same subtle cues of temperature and light. This harmony is not mystical, it is natural. It is biology aligning with biology, breath aligning with breath. Even after you leave the forest, the pattern remains within you. Your breathing carries its memories slower, deeper, more deliberate. You have, for a time, matched the rhythm of the planet's lungs. You have participated in the cycle that sustains everything. The calm that follows is not just relaxation, it is recognition. The forest reminds you that you, too, are part of this exchange, and that every breath is an act of connection. If you could listen closely enough, past the rustle of leaves and the hum of insects, past even the rhythm of your own pulse, you might hear the faintest sound, the sound of air moving through countless pores and veins, through stomata and tracheae, through lungs and leaves. It would not be a noise but a feeling, a vibration that hums at the edge of perception. That is the sound of unity, the breath of the world as one. So the next time you find yourself among trees, pause for a moment, inhale deeply, and know that the air filling your lungs has passed through 1,000 lives before you. Exhale softly, and know that what leaves you will feed another. The forest breathes with you, not beside you. And in that quiet exchange, something ancient and gentle awakens the understanding that life, in all its forms, is one continuous breath, shared across time and space. 10. The moon calms the oceans and minds alike. If you look up on a clear night, you may feel that the moon is watching you. It does not flicker like the stars, nor burn like the sun. It glows instead with a softer light, a reflection so calm it feels alive. For thousands of years, people have looked to it for guidance, for comfort, for rhythm. It hangs above every landscape, mountain and desert, forest and sea, and its pull touches everything, even the smallest grain of sand beneath the waves. The moon is the Earth's companion, its slow and patient twin, and through its silent gravity, it keeps the planet steady, drawing oceans, creatures, and even our hearts into its ancient rhythm. The connection between the moon and the ocean is one of the oldest dances in the universe. Though the moon seems distant, its gravitational pull stretches across the space between worlds, tugging gently on the water that covers most of our planet. Wherever the moon passes overhead, it pulls the sea toward it, lifting it into a bulge that travels around the world as the Earth spins. This is the tide, the ocean's slow breathing, the moon's invisible hand guiding its rise and fall. Every shoreline feels this movement. Twice each day, the water gathers and retreats, sweeping through bays and estuaries, carving and replenishing the edges of the world. To the eye, it looks like water simply moving up and down. But beneath the surface, it is an immense current of energy, a pulse of motion that sustains marine life, shapes coastlines, and keeps the planet's systems balanced. Without the moon, the tides would be smaller, weaker, almost still. The great mixing of the seas would falter, nutrients would settle, the breathing of the ocean would slow. The moon's gravity does more than move water. It moves the Earth itself. As the oceans rise and fall, the planet flexes minutely under their weight, creating tiny shifts in the crust that echo through time. Even the air is drawn by the moon's influence, forming tides of its own in the upper atmosphere. The entire world is engaged in this motion, a planetary heartbeat that beats in lunar time. Animals have long known this rhythm. The spawning of corals, the migrations of crabs, the feeding of fish, the movements of seabirds, all are tied to the cycles of the moon. In some coastal places, tiny marine worms emerge from the sand only on nights of the full moon, glowing softly in the shallows as they release their eggs into the tide. Sea turtles climb ashore to lay their nests under its silver light, guided by instincts that have followed the lunar path for millions of years. The moon's rhythm is written into their blood, as it is into the tides themselves. Humans, too, feel this pull, though we rarely notice it consciously. Our bodies are mostly water, and though the moon's gravitational effect on us is faint, the sense of synchronization remains. The cycle of light and shadow, waxing and waning, aligns with the rhythms of our own biology, our sleep, our hormones, our emotions. The full moon, bright and unwavering, has been a marker of time across all civilizations, guiding harvests, calendars, and ceremonies. Before the mechanical clock, the moon was our first measure of passage. Its gentle regularity offered reassurance that time was not chaos, but pattern. There is something deeply calming about standing beneath a full moon near the ocean. The water shines with a spectral glow, reflecting the light that the moon borrowed from the sun. Waves shimmer like moving mirrors. The tide is often higher, the pull stronger, and yet the scene feels profoundly tranquil. The moon does not command the sea with violence, it leads it with grace. Its force is steady, never hurried, never abrupt. The ocean follows, drawn not by choice, but by nature, and the two move together in an eternal waltz of balance. Even the moon's distance from Earth is part of this harmony. It is slowly drifting away, at the rate of a few centimeters each year. As it does, the length of Earth's day gradually increases, by mere fractions of a second over millennia. The moon, by pulling on the planet, has been slowing its rotation since it first formed. What this means is that every day, every tide, every sunset is slightly longer than it was in the deep past. The moon has been teaching the Earth to rest, gently lengthening its heartbeat over billions of years. If you've ever watched the moon rise over a quiet sea, you know how effortlessly it changes the world. The color of the light shifts blue into silver, silver into pearl. Shadows deepen, reflections stretch. The ocean mirrors the sky, and for a while, it becomes impossible to tell where one ends, the other begins. In that moment, you can almost sense the invisible connection between them, the gravitational thread binding water to light, Earth to its companion. The moon may appear cold and distant, but its influence is intimate. It moves tides, it steadies climates, it even stabilizes the tilt of the Earth, ensuring that seasons remain gentle enough for life to endure. The moon's calming presence is not limited to the sea. Its light has shaped the behavior of animals and humans alike. Nocturnal creatures use its brightness to navigate. Insects, moths, and birds orient themselves by its glow. In ancient times, people traveled safely at night by its silver illumination, working and singing and gathering beneath its face. Myths were woven in its image of goddesses, of lovers, of creatures who changed with its phases. It became a symbol of transformation, a reminder that all things move through cycles of darkness and light. To watch the moon is to watch time itself unfold. It waxes and wanes in perfect rhythm, disappearing only to return, never truly gone. Its phases are like breaths, full and empty, bright and dim, endless and patient. The same light that touched the oceans of the earliest Earth now touches your face when you stand beneath it. Its photons have traveled nearly 400,000 kilometers, bounced from stone to sea, from sea to sky, and finally to you. When you close your eyes under that light, you are bathed in the memory of the cosmos. Even its stillness is an illusion. The moon spins once for every orbit it completes, keeping one face always toward us. We never see its far side, and yet it moves in perfect synchrony, locked in a gravitational embrace with the Earth. This balance is one of the most delicate in the solar system, a precise relationship that keeps both bodies stable. The moon slows our rotation. We keep it from drifting too far, and together, we maintain the rhythm of tides, days, and seasons. Perhaps this is why its presence soothes us. It is a constant in a changing world. Clouds move, stars shift, cities glow and fade, but the moon remains the same quiet guardian, the same patient mirror. Its light is steady enough to anchor the restless mind. In its glow, even chaos seems to breathe more slowly. There are nights when the moon's reflection stretches across the ocean like a path of liquid silver. The waves shimmer softly as they rise and fall, each one carrying a fragment of that celestial light. Standing there, you can feel the moon's influence, not as a concept, but as a subtle gravity that connects sky to sea, sea to body, body to thought. You inhale, the tide rises. You exhale, it falls. The boundary between you and the world dissolves, and you are reminded that everything that moves does so together. When you finally turn away, the moon does not fade. It follows, reflected in rivers, in puddles, in the quiet surface of the eye. It is always with you, its rhythm beating. Beneath the noise of days, the same force that steadies oceans steadies you. Its calm is your calm, its constancy your anchor. The moon teaches by example. It shines without burning. It influences without control. It changes without haste. It reminds us that power can be gentle, that motion can be peaceful, that gravity itself can be an act of grace. And as it drifts through the sky, pulling tides and minds alike into its rhythm, it keeps whispering the same truth to the planet below: to move softly, to balance always, and to rest in the quiet pull of harmony. 11. The aurora paints with solar wind. Far to the north and south, where the air grows thin and cold, the sky sometimes begins to move in ways that seem too graceful to be real. Curtains of green light ripple across the horizon, turning and folding like silk in an invisible breeze. They shift through shades of violet and rose, their edges brightening, their centers dimming, as if some immense painter were brushing color directly onto the night. The world beneath falls silent, snow, ice, and sea, reflecting the glow, and for a moment, the boundary between earth and sky disappears. This is the aurora, the Earth's most delicate dance with the sun, a luminous whisper carried by the wind of the stars. The story of this light begins nearly 150 million kilometers away, on the surface of the sun. There, loops of plasma twist and burst, flinging particles into space, electrons, protons, and ions, traveling at extraordinary speed. These streams of energy form what we call the solar wind, a continuous outpouring of matter that fills the space between planets. It moves invisibly, silently, a river of charged particles flowing outward in all directions. When this wind reaches Earth, most of it is deflected by the planet's magnetic field, curving harmlessly around us like water around a stone. But near the poles, where the magnetic field dips down toward the surface, some of those particles slip through, spiraling along the lines of force until they collide with the upper atmosphere. When these particles strike atoms of oxygen and nitrogen, they transfer energy to them, an invisible touch that excites the atoms to higher states. As they return to equilibrium, they release that energy again, not as heat or sound, but as light. Each color corresponds to a different altitude and element. Oxygen glows green or red, nitrogen shines blue and purple. Together, they weave the aurora's soft tapestry across the sky, each flicker a collision between the Earth and the solar wind. What we see as beauty is physics at play, a dialogue between sun and planet written in color instead of words. The aurora's motion is slow but alive. Waves of light move from horizon to zenith, changing shape as magnetic currents shift above. Sometimes the glow forms a smooth arc, stretching across the entire sky like a luminous bridge. Sometimes it breaks into ribbons that twist and pulse, undulating as if breathing. In rare moments, it bursts into spirals, rays shooting upward as though the stars themselves were falling. To witness it is to feel that the sky has turned to water and that you are standing beneath a living ocean of light. Indigenous peoples of the Arctic have long seen the aurora not as a phenomenon, but as a presence. In the stories of the Sami, Inuit, and Cree, these lights are the spirits of ancestors, or the souls of animals, or messages carried across the heavens. They are reminders that the sky is not empty but inhabited, filled with meaning and memory. Even before science could explain it, humanity sensed that this light was more than mere color. It felt alive, intelligent, benevolent. And in truth, it is born from connection, from the unseen threads that bind the Earth to the sun. From space, astronauts describe the aurora as a glowing crown wrapped around the poles, shimmering like a halo on the planet's edge. It is thin only, a few hundred kilometers wide, but from orbit, it appears vast, its green bands bending with the curvature of the Earth. Sometimes it flares with such intensity that it casts shadows on the clouds below. In those moments, the planet seems to shine from within, the atmosphere transformed into a luminous shell. There is a rhythm to its appearance, though it may seem unpredictable. Every 11 years, the sun completes a magnetic cycle, growing more active before quieting again. During these peaks, when solar storms hurl massive clouds of particles into space, the auroras grow stronger, reaching farther from the poles, visible even to those who live beneath temperate skies. The light we see during those storms began its journey days earlier, racing across the void, shaped by the magnetic currents of the solar wind. By the time it reaches us, it has traveled millions of kilometers, a cosmic letter delivered in photons. To stand beneath the aurora is to feel both small and infinite. The air grows still, the cold sharpens, and the horizon glows with something that feels both foreign and familiar. The light does not make a sound, yet it seems to hum in the bones, a vibration deeper than hearing. Some observers have claimed to hear faint crackles or whispers, though science debates whether this sound is real or imagined. Perhaps it is not a physical sound, but an emotional one, the mind's translation of awe into sensation. The colors of the aurora depend not only on altitude, but on the subtle balance between solar energy and atmospheric composition. In high altitudes, rarefied oxygen glows red, a deep, gentle crimson that appears only during strong storms. Closer to the ground, denser layers of oxygen emit green, the hue most commonly seen. Nitrogen contributes blues and violets, filling the edges with faint, dreamlike tones. When these layers overlap, the result is an ever-changing canvas of light, constantly rewritten by invisible forces. The patterns are never the same twice. Like snowflakes, each display is unique, an expression of conditions that will never repeat exactly again. Though it is born of cosmic violence, the aurora moves with peace. Solar flares and magnetic storms may rage on the surface of the sun, but by the time their energy reaches our sky, it has been transformed into softness. It does not scorch, it caresses. It paints without touching. It reminds us that even the most powerful energies can find beauty when they meet balance. The aurora is the Earth's gentle way of absorbing the universe's fire. There is a subtle comfort in knowing that above every quiet winter night, this exchange continues. The sun breathes energy outward. The Earth receives and transforms it, and the result is light that belongs to both. The same glow that shimmers over northern snowfields may also ripple above Antarctica's frozen seas, linking both poles in symmetry. The entire planet glows at once, the north answering the south in a silent dialogue of color. If you watch long enough, you may notice that the aurora seems to pulse, dimming and brightening in slow rhythm. Scientists call these fluctuations pulsations, driven by waves of charged particles moving through the magnetosphere. But to the heart, it feels like the sky itself is breathing, expanding and contracting, just as the oceans do, just as lungs do. In that rhythm, one can sense the same universal pattern that flows through everything. Energy, release, renewal. When the display fades, the sky returns to darkness, but the memory of that light lingers. It leaves behind a stillness so profound that even the stars seem changed. To those who have seen it, the aurora becomes a kind of memory not of place, but of feeling. It reminds us that the Earth is not alone, that every atom of air and drop of water is connected to the greater cosmos, that we are part of a dance far older than ourselves. Even now, while you read these words, the solar wind is streaming past the planet. Invisible lines of magnetism are catching and bending it, guiding it toward the poles where it will ignite the night once more. Somewhere, above the silent snows, green light is flowing across the sky. The air is cold, the stars are sharp, and the horizon glows like breath. The aurora paints without sound, without haste, and in that motionless grace it tells the story of balance, how even the most distant fire can find harmony when it meets the calm of a world that knows how to receive. 12 mountains move slower than time itself. If the ocean breathes and the forests whisper, then the mountains dream. They do not speak in the language of wind or water, but in silence, in forms and shadows, in the slow rise and fall of stone. To human eyes they appear eternal, unchanging. They stand like monuments, carved by time itself, witnesses to everything that has ever passed beneath them. But the truth is gentler and stranger. Mountains move. They move so slowly that their motion becomes imperceptible, so patiently that they embody stillness while never truly standing still. To look upon a mountain is to glimpse time slowed to its quietest rhythm, the pulse of the earth, measured in millimeters per year. Each mountain begins not as height, but as pressure. Deep within the planet, tectonic plates, vast slabs of rock floating on molten mantle drift, collide, and fold. Where they meet, the crust thickens, compresses, and wrinkles upward like fabric pushed from beneath. In these folds, the first peaks are born. It may take millions of years for a single mountain range to rise, and in that time, the land transforms completely. Ocean floors are lifted into air. Seabed fossils rest high among snowy summits. A shell once held in a prehistoric current may one day sit at the top of a ridge, whispering faintly of its oceanic past. Mountains are, in this way, the earth remembering its former selves. Even as they rise, mountains are already eroding. Wind carves their slopes. Ice fractures their peaks. Rivers slice valleys into their flanks, carrying their fragments away grain by grain. The process of creation and destruction happens together, always balanced, always in motion. A mountain's life is a conversation between upward thrust and downward surrender, between the heat of the earth and the cool patience of the sky. What we call stability is only the point where these two forces meet. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps, these are among the youngest mountains, still growing. Their peaks rise a few millimeters each year, pushed upward by the relentless collision of continents. The Himalayas, born when India collided with Asia, continue to ascend, their height increasing as the plates beneath them grind slowly forward. Yet even as they climb, rain and snow wear them down. Every storm that lashes their cliffs, every glacier that drags its weight across their valleys, contributes to their quiet transformation. The mountains rise, erode, and rise again, a cycle without beginning or end. If we could speed time forward, watching centuries pass in seconds, the mountains would seem to breathe, expanding and shrinking, flowing and folding like waves of stone. Valleys would deepen, ridges would shift, peaks would drift ever so slightly toward the horizon. The solidity we see would dissolve into motion, and the entire planet would appear fluid, its surface rippling like a slow ocean. We live too quickly to notice this, but the mountains do not hurry. Their patience is geological, their language one of gravity and persistence. In their stillness, they shape everything around them. Mountains influence wind and weather, bending air currents and catching clouds. Moist air from the sea cools as it climbs their slopes, condensing into rain and snow. Rivers are born from this condensation, flowing downward in silver threads that carve new valleys and feed distant plains. The mountains give water to the process, world a constant offering, drawn from their own erosion. Even as they crumble, they sustain life. Beneath their surface, deep fissures open and close, conducting heat from the core outward. Minerals crystallize, veins of quartz and gold form, and magma moves like blood through ancient arteries. Though invisible, this inner activity shapes the mountain's fate. Every tremor and quake, every subtle shift of pressure, alters their form. The solid rock beneath our feet is alive in its own way, restless even in stillness. Climbers who stand on summits often describe a sense of deep quiet, a silence so profound it feels like sound inverted. That silence is not absence, but density. It is the weight of time compressed into form. The stones underfoot are millions of years old, each crystal within them aligned by forces beyond imagination. To touch a mountain is to touch something that has felt the planet's earliest heat, that has survived its storms and its ice ages, that has known 1,000 dawns before the first breath of humankind. When wind moves through a range, it carries the memory of height. It whistles across ridges and howls through passes, but even that sound is temporary. The mountain itself remains unmoved by weather. Snow falls and melts, ice forms and recedes. Seasons turn endlessly over the same contours. Yet, beneath this cycle, the rock continues its imperceptible migration. It may take tens of millions of years for a single ridge to cross from one latitude to another, carried slowly on the back of its tectonic plate. In that time, entire species rise and vanish, rivers shift course, and climates transform. The mountain endures, evolving with a grace too slow to see. There is a serenity in that slowness. Mountains exist on a scale that transcends urgency. They remind us that endurance need not mean resistance, that strength can also be stillness. They do not chase the sky. They arrive there through quiet persistence. Their peaks are the visible results of patience itself, a patience that outlasts weather, erosion, and time. At dawn, when sunlight first touches the summits, the stone glows with color, gold, rose, silver, as though it were alive. The light lingers longest on the highest ridges, tracing their forms like breath. In those few moments, when the air is still and the world below is asleep, the mountains seem to wake slowly, stretching their shadows across valleys and lakes. Yet they never rush toward the day. They simply receive it. To witness this is to learn something wordless about peace, that to rise does not require struggle, only the steady willingness to exist. In many ancient traditions, mountains were seen as sacred places, the meeting points of heaven and earth. People climbed them to speak to gods, to seek silence, to find answers that could not be heard at sea level. The thin air, the isolation, the vastness, all conspire to strip away the noise of daily life, leaving only the steady hum of the earth's pulse. The mind quiets among mountains because it meets something slower than thought. Even as we look upon them with reverence, the mountains are humble. They are made of the same elements as the sand on a beach, the dust in the air, the bones in our bodies. They are not foreign to us. They are the planet's slow exhalations, the solid form of the same matter that moves through all living things. When we walk among them, we are walking within the Earth's own architecture, shaped by fire, cooled by time, and softened by air. At night, under starlight, their silhouettes become outlines of the planet's breath. The ridgelines seem to float, black against the shimmer of space. In those moments, it is easy to imagine that the mountains are not beneath the sky, but part of it peaks, rising not from Earth, but from time itself. Their slopes, their rivers, their valleys, all whisper of endurance, of quiet motion, of life that moves too slowly for the eye to perceive. If you listen carefully, perhaps in that stillness between dusk and dawn, you might sense the faint tremor of their motion, not sound, but feeling. The mountain shifts infinitesimally. The rock expands and contracts with heat. The glaciers sigh as they slide. It is not noise but resonance, the planet's deep hum translated into form. To stand before a mountain is to be reminded of your own scale, not in insignificance, but in belonging. You, too, are part of this slow, unfolding story. Your bones share the same minerals, your blood the same water that falls from their peaks. You are made of the same patience that moves them, quietly, imperceptibly, toward change. Mountains move slower than time itself, yet they teach us what time truly is, not a straight line, but a slow unfolding. They rise and fall, but never hurry. They erode, but never vanish. They remind us that stillness can hold motion within it, that endurance can coexist with transformation. They are the Earth's way of showing that permanence is not the absence of change, but its most graceful form. So the next time you look upon a mountain, whether distant in haze or close enough to touch, remember that you are seeing movement so slow it has become peace. The stones beneath your feet are not frozen. They are flowing, so gently that it feels like stillness. And perhaps, in that realization, you may find a quiet lesson for yourself, that growth does not always mean speed, that strength can be silence, and that the most enduring things in this world are those that know how to move without leaving. 13 rivers remember their path. A river is a memory in motion. It begins as something small, a single drop sliding from a melting snowflake, a trickle emerging from the dark of a spring, but from the moment it moves, it remembers. It remembers where it came from, how to find the sea, how to curve and meander through the world in patient loops. To watch a river flow is to watch the earth thinking in water, tracing lines of connection through soil and stone. It never forgets its destination, though it may take centuries to arrive. Every bend, every pool, every shimmer of reflected sky is an act of memory, written in movement. When rain falls on the highlands, it begins the long descent toward lower ground. The water gathers in rivulets, then streams, then channels. Each drop follows gravity's pull, drawn ever downward, yet never in a straight line. The river learns the shape of the land as it travels where the rock is soft, where the valley narrows, where the earth invites it to linger. Over time, the water carves its own history into the ground, deepening its course, polishing stones, widening plains. The river is both sculptor and sculpture, a living map of time. What we see as a ribbon of water is only the surface of something far older and deeper. Beneath the visible current lies an undercurrent, a flow through gravel, sand, and bedrock. Beneath that, aquifers stretch unseen through the earth, feeding springs that rejoin the surface long after their source is forgotten. Water moves in loops rather than lines. It sinks, it rises, it disappears and returns. It evaporates into clouds, condenses into rain, and begins again. The river's memory is not linear but cyclical. A story told endlessly, changing form but never essence. If you trace a river from its mouth back to its source, you move backward through time. The wide estuary narrows into channels, then streams, then trickles, until you reach the first droplet that began the journey. Each section of that path holds a record of the world it has passed through. The minerals in its bed tell of the rocks it once touched. The color of its water reveals the soils it has carried. The shape of its meanders remembers centuries of flood and drought. Even its sound, that constant murmur, that ceaseless song, is a kind of language, describing in vibration the journey it has taken. Rivers are often called the veins of the planet, and the comparison is more than poetic. They transport nutrients from land to sea, distribute sediments that form deltas and coastlines, and sustain the ecosystems that depend upon their flow. In each drop of river water lives a world of microorganisms, unseen architects of balance. The river's current carries oxygen for fish, minerals for plants, and stories for everything that listens. It links mountains to oceans, forests to plains, clouds to roots. The river is connection made visible, the Earth's bloodstream, pulsing with continuity. The movement of a river is shaped by a delicate balance between flow and resistance. The water moves fastest at its center, slower at its edges, slower still at its bends. Over time, this uneven motion creates curves, gentle arcs that shift across valleys in patient grace. These meanders are not mistakes. They are the river's way of remembering its own past. Each curve represents an adjustment, a response to some obstacle long since washed away. And as it turns and loops, the river carries those memories forward, creating oxbows and floodplains, places where stillness and movement coexist. When the river floods, it does not destroy, it renews. It spreads across its banks, depositing rich silt that feeds new life. The water that seems to overflow its boundaries is simply returning to the land what it borrowed. This rhythm, flow and rest, rise and retreat, has repeated for as long as rivers have existed. Floodplains, though born of water's excess, are among the most fertile places on Earth. Here the river gives back, replenishing what erosion takes. Balance is restored not through control, but through release. Even when humans alter its course, the river remembers its way. Dams may hold it for a time, channels may redirect it, but the water waits. It seeps beneath barriers, carving hidden paths, undermining the structures that confine it. Eventually, given enough time, the river returns to the route it once knew. This is not rebellion, it is remembrance. Water has no ambition, no will to resist, only persistence. It flows where it must, because it knows the language of gravity, of slope, of continuity. It cannot forget what the land has taught it. To sit beside a river is to feel time slow to its natural pace. The surface ripples with passing light, insects glide across it, and beneath the calm, the current moves with steady certainty. Each droplet travels only a few meters per second. Yet, over years, decades, and centuries, the river reshapes entire landscapes. Valleys widen, canyons deepen, deltas expand into the sea. It is power expressed through patience. No moment is wasted, no drop idle. The river accomplishes what storms and earthquakes cannot: transformation through constancy. Sometimes, as it flows through mountains, the river meets itself again. Old channels abandoned centuries ago are rediscovered, filled once more by floodwaters. The land remembers too, guiding the water back to familiar ground. In this way, the landscape and the river share a kind of conversation. The earth creates boundaries, the river traces them. Together they form the geography of memory, a pattern of persistence written in curves and sediment. The sound of a river, that continuous murmur, is older than language. It has spoken the same rhythm since before human ears existed to hear it. Its tone changes with depth and speed, with stone and rain, yet it always carries the same message, that everything moves and everything returns. Even when frozen in winter, the current remains beneath the ice, whispering through darkness. The river never truly stops. It only rests beneath a quiet surface, gathering strength for spring. At night, when moonlight touches the water, the river becomes a ribbon of light. It reflects the sky's stillness, while continuing its invisible motion. This, too, is its nature, to appear calm, while moving endlessly forward. The stars shimmer on its surface, and in that shimmer, the cosmos meets the Earth's reflection. Every river, no matter how small, carries that reflection toward the sea, uniting heaven and earth in a single mirrored current. The journey ends where the river meets the ocean. There, the fresh water mixes with salt, and the two embrace in turbulence and foam. The river does not disappear, it expands, becoming part of something vast. Its memory dissolves into the rhythm of tides, its voice into the sound of waves. Yet even in the ocean, the molecules remember their path. Some will rise as vapor, travel on the wind, fall again as rain, and begin the journey anew. The river's story never truly ends. It only changes form, continuing the eternal conversation between water and world. To know a river is to understand the patience of movement. It teaches that persistence does not need force, that progress can be fluid and soft. It shows that to remember is not to hold on, but to keep flowing. The river never clings to its source, nor resists its destination. It simply moves, learning the land, becoming part of everything it touches. So when you find yourself by a riverbank, listening to its unbroken murmur, imagine the journey within it. Think of the mountains it once touched, the clouds it came from, the oceans it will join. Every droplet has lived 1,000 lives, traveled through roots and rain, through snow and sea. The water before you is ancient, yet forever young, carrying within it the memory of all it has seen. The river remembers because the earth remembers. The two are one motion and matter intertwined, and as you breathe beside that endless flow, you may feel something awaken in yourself, a recognition of your own movement through time, your own return to balance. For like the river, you are made to continue, to change, to remember where you have been while flowing toward what awaits. 14 clouds are sculpted by air's hidden geometry. Look up on any day, and you will see the sky in motion, a slow, silent ballet of forms drifting across the blue. To most eyes, clouds are merely weather, a sign of rain or sun, but to the patient observer they are something far greater, the visible handwriting of air itself. Every swirl, every towering column, every delicate veil of cirrus is a record of the invisible forces moving through the atmosphere. The sky is a canvas, and air is its sculptor. In the shifting light, clouds reveal the geometry of the unseen, the architecture of the wind. A cloud begins not as fluff or mist, but as something impossibly small, a speck of dust, a grain of pollen, a tiny crystal of salt carried upward from the sea. Around these invisible seeds, water vapor gathers, condensing into droplets so light they can float upon the breath of the sky. There are billions of such droplets in every cloud, each one no larger than a fraction of a hair's width. Together, they create the great shapes we see from below: castles of vapor, endless plains of white, rivers of mist that stretch from horizon to horizon. The formation of clouds is a delicate equation between temperature, humidity, and pressure. Warm air rises, carrying moisture with it, until it reaches altitudes where the air cools and the vapor condenses. But the way it condenses, the shape it takes, depends on the subtle geometry of the atmosphere. Wind shears create spirals. Temperature gradients form waves. Invisible currents twist and fold upon themselves, turning air into sculpture. The clouds we see are not random. They are the visible edges of motion, the contours of energy made visible through condensation. Every cloud is temporary, but within its brief existence it holds the memory of movement. A cumulus cloud, bright and rounded, forms from the upward push of warm air. It billows and blooms, rising higher as sunlight heats the earth below. A cirrus cloud, thin and feathery, drifts in the upper atmosphere, where ice crystals replace droplets and the air moves with greater speed. A stratus layer spreads across the sky in sheets, the result of calm, even lifting. Each form reflects a particular rhythm in the air, a balance between rising and falling, heating and cooling. The sky's shapes are the fingerprints of balance. When viewed from above, as from a mountain or an aeroplane window, the geometry becomes clearer. Clouds arrange themselves into patterns that resemble waves on water ripples, and vortices that trace the flow of the atmosphere. Some spiral like galaxies, others stretch into straight lines that vanish into distance. These formations are known as Kelvin-Helmholtz waves, born where layers of air move at different speeds. The upper layer slips past the lower, curling the boundary into rolling shapes like the edge of breaking surf. For a few moments, the sky seems to mimic the ocean, revealing that both are driven by the same physics, the eternal tension between fluid and flow. The shapes of clouds are never fixed because the air is never still. Even on a calm day, the atmosphere is alive with motion. Tiny pockets of warm air rise and fall, merging and dividing in endless succession. These currents create the soft edges of clouds, the way they blur and dissolve rather than break. Every curve and curl you see above you is a reflection of that restless dance. The sky is not a blank expanse, but a vast sea of currents, invisible until revealed by condensation. Light transforms these forms into emotion. As the sun moves, it scatters through the droplets, painting the clouds in color: white at noon, gold at evening, rose and violet at dusk. When the sun dips below the horizon, the undersides of clouds catch the last rays, glowing as though lit from within. At those moments, the geometry of the air becomes a canvas for light's slow farewell. The patterns of motion are bathed in warmth, and for a few minutes the entire sky seems alive, breathing color as it prepares to rest. Yet beneath the beauty lies a quiet structure, a mathematics of motion so intricate that even modern science struggles to describe it fully. Clouds form fractals, repeating patterns at different scales, from the smallest wisps to the grandest thunderheads. The same branching forms appear in the billows of a storm and in the texture of a passing mist. This self-similarity is nature's signature, evidence that the sky follows the same laws as rivers, mountains, and veins of leaves. In every puff of vapor, there is order hidden within apparent chaos. When storms rise, this geometry becomes monumental. Towering cumulonimbus clouds stretch miles into the atmosphere, their tops flattening into anvils as they reach layers where the air no longer rises. Within them, electric fields build silently, separating charges until lightning is born, a sudden, blinding expression of energy seeking equilibrium. Even this violence follows rules of shape and balance. The branching of lightning mirrors the branching of trees, of rivers, of the very structure of lungs. The patterns repeat, echoing the universe's preference for symmetry through motion. The stiller, softer clouds, those that drift quietly across the sky, embody the opposite quality: surrender. They do not grow or crash or electrify. They simply move with the air, dissolving where they thin, thickening where the moisture gathers. Their beauty lies in impermanence. To watch them is to witness transformation without loss, the endless shifting of form without grief. The vapor that leaves one cloud becomes another, rising and falling in new configurations. Nothing vanishes. Everything continues in new geometry. For as long as humans have looked upward, clouds have served as teachers of imagination. Their shapes invite interpretation: a lion, a mountain, a face, a ship. Yet these forms exist only for a moment before changing. They remind us that beauty is not fixed, but fluid. That meaning can emerge and dissolve with equal grace. In their silence, they model acceptance, how to exist briefly, to move freely, and to let go without resistance. At sunset, when the last light turns the clouds to embers, they seem almost alive within a fire. The sky burns not with destruction, but with reflection, as though the air itself were remembering the day. In those minutes between day and night, when the first stars begin to appear, the hidden geometry of air becomes poetry. The patterns of pressure and heat, of turbulence and calm, reveal their harmony in color. Above the clouds, the air continues its slow sculpting, shaping invisible paths that will later manifest as new forms. The sky is never empty, it is always becoming. Even when it seems clear, moisture gathers unseen, preparing to reveal itself again. Every clear day holds the memory of clouds, just as every cloud holds the memory of clear air. The two are inseparable, two halves of the same, endless motion. If you ever lie on your back and watch the clouds drift, you may feel the same gentle rhythm that shapes them. The slow expansion and collapse of vapor mirrors the expansion and release of your own breath. You exhale, the air warms, the vapor rises. You inhale, the air cools, the vapor condenses. You are not separate from the sky. You are breathing in its geometry. The same forces that sculpt the clouds move through your lungs, your blood, your pulse. You, too, are made of patterns that shift and change but never truly vanish. In this way, clouds are the sky remembering itself, vapor returning to air, air turning back to light. Their shapes are not illusions, but revelations of what moves invisibly above and within us. They remind us that all forms, no matter how vast or fleeting, are sculpted by forces too subtle to see but too constant to doubt. The sky, like the soul, is never still. It is always forming, dissolving, and forming again, an endless dance of geometry hidden within motion. 15. The desert sings in heat and silence. There is a place where the world seems to pause between moments, where wind moves like breath through an open throat, and light lays itself bare upon the skin of the earth. That place is the desert, vast, silent, endless. To some it appears empty, lifeless, austere, but to those who linger and listen, it reveals something extraordinary. The desert is not silent because it lacks sound. It is silent because every sound is deliberate. It does not feel still because nothing moves, but because everything moves according to rhythm, the rhythm of heat, of wind, of survival. The desert sings in frequencies too slow for hurry, too low for noise. Its music begins with light. At dawn, The horizon glows not suddenly but gradually, like the earth remembering color. Shadows lift from the sand in delicate tones of violet and rose. The air is cool, still heavy with night's memory. In these early hours, even the smallest breeze carries weight, a whisper of warmth waiting to grow. As the sun rises, the desert awakens, not with sound, but with light that moves across its surface like water. Every dune, every stone, every grain begins to shimmer. The heat that follows is not uniform. It trembles. It ripples upward, bending the air itself. We call these waves mirages, but they are more than illusions. They are the visible hum of temperature, the way air sings when it expands. The light splits and dances, forming distant pools of false water that vanish as you approach. This is the desert's first song, a song of distortion, of reality bending under the weight of heat. The air becomes an instrument, and the sun, relentless, is its musician. At midday, the desert radiates soundless energy. The air vibrates with warmth, so intense it feels alive, as though invisible currents are brushing against the skin. In that shimmering silence, time itself seems to slow. Rocks crack as they expand under heat, releasing sharp pops that echo across the stillness. The wind shifts, carrying the fine hiss of sand grains tumbling against one another. If you listen closely, you can hear the dunes speaking faint rustles, like the turning of distant pages. Some deserts produce tones so low and resonant that entire slopes appear to hum. These are the singing sands, their voices born from millions of grains sliding together in perfect friction. The sound can last for minutes, a deep, unbroken note that seems to come from the Earth's own chest. Scientists have found that these melodies occur only when the sand is composed of grains of just the right size and smoothness, coated with a thin film of silica. When the wind moves them, they slip past each other in synchronized waves, vibrating as one. The result is an acoustic phenomenon, a natural chorus tuned by time and weather. Ancient travelers spoke of these sounds as spirits or lost cities calling from beneath the dunes. Even knowing the science, the sound still feels sacred. It reminds us that silence is never truly empty. It is simply filled with tones too patient for the hurried ear. As day deepens, the sun climbs higher and shadows vanish. The world becomes a single, unbroken field of brightness. Color seems to fade, leaving only gold and white. The mind, too, begins to simplify. Thought slows, awareness sharpens. In the absence of distraction, the desert invites clarity not through abundance, but through reduction. Here, life exists by doing less. Plants grow small and fierce, conserving water within waxy leaves. Animals burrow into shade, emerging only when darkness cools the sand. Every creature has learned the same lesson. Survival in the desert is not about resistance, but harmony. The only way to endure such a place is to move with its rhythm, not against it. When evening comes, the light softens again. The heat releases its hold, and the air cools rapidly. Shadows return, stretching long fingers across the dunes. The desert's palette deepens, amber becomes crimson. Gold fades into violet. The silence changes too. A faint stir of wind rises, and with it, sound returns. Insects begin their soft percussion, clicking and droning in the hollows of stones. A distant owl calls. The sands sigh as they shift. The desert begins to hum again, not with heat this time, but with life. At night, the desert becomes a mirror for the universe. With no moisture to blur the atmosphere, the stars appear sharp and endless. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of dust and light, reflecting faintly upon the sand below. Each grain of desert seems to glow with its own subtle radiance, catching starlight as though it remembers the day. The temperature continues to drop, and the air grows clear and thin. It is a silence so deep it feels physical, the kind of silence that does not exclude you, but draws you in. In it, you can hear your own heartbeat echoing in the stillness. You begin to realize that the desert's song is not something outside of you. It is something that moves through you, the vibration of being small beneath an infinite sky. Even in apparent emptiness, the desert is full of motion. Beneath the sand, roots stretch deep toward hidden water. In dry riverbeds called wadis, seeds wait for years until the rain returns. When that rare rain falls, it transforms the landscape overnight. The parched ground darkens, releasing the scent of wet earth, a fragrance called petrichor, and the dunes bloom with fragile flowers. The transformation is brief, but it is complete. Life, dormant and invisible, rises to meet the light. Then, as quickly as it began, the water evaporates, and the desert returns to stillness, carrying the memory of color within its silence. This rhythm, emptiness, awakening, silence, is the desert's breath. It inhales light, exhales shadow. It holds the heat of the day and releases it into the cold of night. To spend time here is to feel the body slow, the senses sharpen, the mind settle into something ancient and elemental. The desert teaches patience without words. It shows that beauty does not always require abundance, that meaning can exist in the spaces between. Every dune, every ripple of sand is shaped by wind, an artist invisible but tireless. Over years and centuries, dunes migrate across the landscape, flowing like slow waves. They crest and collapse, reform and move again. The desert is never static. It is in constant transformation. What appears eternal is, in truth, a vast field of movement. Even the rocks, though they seem unmoving, are slowly weathering, turning to sand that will someday sing in the wind. To walk across such a landscape is to walk through time. Footprints last only minutes before the wind erases them. Yet for those moments they connect you to something immeasurable. You feel the heat rising from the ground, the dry air against your skin, the weightless hum of the world's oldest silence. You are reminded that you, too, are impermanent, a traveler through shifting dunes, a temporary shape in an ever-changing geometry. When the wind finally calms and night deepens, the desert falls quiet again. The stars remain, constant and indifferent, their light taking thousands of years to reach this sand. Somewhere far away, a dune hums softly in the dark, its song drifting like breath across miles of emptiness. It is the sound of the earth exhaling, the echo of heat cooling into calm. The desert does not need language to speak. Its voice is made of light, wind, and time. Its song is one of endurance and grace, of motion so slow it becomes stillness. When you listen, truly listen, you hear that it is not barren at all, it is complete. It sings the same melody the oceans whisper, the forests breathe, the mountains dream, that everything changes, that nothing is lost, and that silence is the purest form of music. 16. The deep sea glows where light cannot reach. Beneath the ocean's shimmering surface, beyond the reach of sunlight and sound, there lies a world that seems untouched by time. It is a realm of perpetual night, where pressure crushes steel and temperature hovers near freezing. Yet, life endures. The deep sea is the planet's greatest mystery, vast and unknowable, covering more than half of the Earth and yet remaining largely unseen. In this darkness, there is light, not from the sun, but from the living. The deep glows quietly with its own constellations, creatures carrying stars within their bodies. It is the sea dreaming of the sky. The descent into this world begins in color. Near the surface, sunlight filters through water, losing its red and yellow hues until only blue remains. Then even that fades, swallowed by depth. At around 1,000 meters, light from above disappears entirely. Here begins the midnight zone, a space of eternal twilight where no dawn or dusk ever comes. Yet even in this absence, there is radiance. Tiny sparks flicker in the void brief, deliberate flashes, as if the darkness itself were breathing. These are not reflections, but acts of creation. Life in the deep makes its own light. This phenomenon, bioluminescence, is as common in the depths as sunlight is on land. In the black water, fish, jellyfish, squid, and microscopic plankton carry within them the chemistry of illumination. Through a reaction between luciferin, an organic molecule, and oxygen, often catalyzed by an enzyme called luciferase, they release photons of cold light. The glow can be blue, green, or even red, depending on the species. Some creatures emit steady radiance. Others produce sudden pulses or rippling waves of luminescence. In the deep sea, light is language, a means of signaling, hunting, hiding, and belonging. A jellyfish drifting through the abyss glows softly along its edges, tracing its delicate form against the black. When disturbed, it flashes in ripples, a warning to would-be predators. Small fish ignite in bursts, confusing their pursuers long enough to escape. The anglerfish, that ghostly hunter of the deep, dangles a bioluminescent lure before its mouth, a living lantern that draws prey from the shadows. Some squid eject clouds of glowing ink, decoys of light to distract their enemies. Others use luminescence to become invisible, shining downward to match the faint light filtering from above, erasing their silhouettes in perfect camouflage. For many deep-sea creatures, the ability to glow is not optional. It is survival. In the absence of sunlight, light becomes currency. Each pulse and flicker is an act of communication, a whisper through darkness. A single flash can signal mating, mark territory, or warn of danger. Some fish have evolved complex organs that can change brightness or pattern, forming silent messages across the void. Entire ecosystems, from the smallest plankton to the largest predators, are connected by these threads of light, an invisible web that glows softly in the deep. As the depth increases, the water grows heavier, thicker, more silent. The pressure here is immense, hundreds of times greater than at the surface. Yet life persists. Strange creatures glide through the dark like thoughts, their forms adapted to the crushing weight. Transparent bodies, enormous eyes, slow movements. The scarcity of energy has shaped them into masters of efficiency. They waste nothing, move little, glow only when needed. In this stillness, their light becomes poetry, brief gestures of existence that illuminate the void. Some species have symbiotic relationships with bacteria that produce light for them. The Hawaiian bobtail squid, though found in shallower waters, carries bioluminescent bacteria in special organs, using them to blend into moonlight from above. In the deep ocean, similar partnerships thrive. Fish provide shelter and nutrients. Bacteria provide light. Together, they form small constellations. In the blackness, the light of life in these depths is not solitary, it is shared. The glowing of the deep sea is not uniform. Sometimes it comes in bursts, spreading like silent lightning across the water. In other moments, it forms slow, drifting waves, an aurora beneath the ocean. Scientists studying these displays have described them as milky seas, vast regions where the water glows faintly for miles at a time. The phenomenon is caused by countless bioluminescent bacteria gathering near the surface, emitting steady light that can be seen even from satellites orbiting above. Imagine, then, the Earth viewed from space on such a night, land dark, but the sea alive with pale fire. The ocean becomes a breathing galaxy, its stars not burning, but living. In the deeper zones still, beyond the reach of even these milky seas, volcanic vents crack the ocean floor. Here, in the abyssal plains, jets of superheated water rich with minerals burst upward into the freezing darkness. Around them gather strange communities, worms, crabs, and fish that thrive without sunlight, drawing energy instead from chemical reactions. Even here, at the bottom of the world, where no light has ever fallen, some creatures glow. Their light is not borrowed from the sun, but generated from the heat of the earth itself, proof that illumination can arise even in the deepest night. When explorers first sent submersibles into these depths, they described the experience as entering another planet. Outside their small windows, the water was black, yet alive with brief flashes. Every few seconds, a spark would appear, a drifting organism, a pulse of blue, a trail of glowing dots marking the path of a passing jellyfish. The light was silent, soft, but constant. The scientists realized that the deep sea is not darkness at all. It is full of light, too faint for unassisted eyes, a light that never stops moving. In a way, the ocean below mirrors the sky above. Both are vast, dark, and filled with scattered points of light. Both are infinite to the eye and ancient to the mind. The deep sea, like the cosmos, holds its own stars, not of fire, but of life. And just as the stars tell the story of the universe's creation, the bioluminescent glow tells the story of Earth's persistence. In both, we see the same truth repeated. Light is the instinct of matter to remember itself. The glow of these creatures reaches us not just as beauty, but as reminder. It tells us that even in conditions that seem inhospitable, in places beyond warmth, beyond sight, life finds a way to express itself through radiance. The darkness is never absolute. Somewhere, in the unseen corners of the world, light is still being born. When the deep sea settles into its slow rhythm, when the currents ease and the last rays of sunlight from the upper ocean fade completely, the creatures below continue their silent conversations. Each pulse, each shimmer carries meaning. Together, they create an unending dialogue, a Morse code of existence whispered through the dark water. It is a language without words, spoken in flashes and pauses, patient and eternal. If you could drift there, weightless among them, you might see the ocean's light reflected faintly in your own eyes. You would feel the pressure, the quiet, the endless slow movement of the water. You would realize that the darkness is not empty but alive, that the void is full of pulse and presence. The glow would touch you not as brightness, but as understanding that every life, however small or hidden, contributes its light to the world. The deep sea glows where light cannot reach, and in doing so, it teaches a quiet truth. Illumination is not the absence of darkness, but its companion. It is the echo of energy within stillness, the promise that even in the coldest, most distant depths, something remembers how to shine. 17. The wind shapes. The world without being seen, you cannot see the wind yet. It is everywhere. It moves through trees, over oceans, across deserts and plains, carrying the breath of one world to another. It touches your skin softly, invisible and real. It turns leaves into waves, dunes into sculptures, clouds into shifting rivers of white. The wind is the earth's pulse in motion, unseen, untouchable, yet shaping everything it meets. It has no color, no form, no weight of its own, yet it moves mountains, carves canyons, and carries seeds across continents. To feel it is to feel the planet exhaling. The wind begins in warmth. The sun strikes the earth unevenly, heating equators more than poles, oceans more than land, valleys differently from hills. Warm air, lighter and more buoyant, rises. Cool air, heavier and patient, descends. Between them flows the invisible river we call wind. It begins gently, as a whisper of imbalance, a seeking of equilibrium that never quite arrives. Around the world, this endless exchange of rising and falling air creates a symphony of motion that never stops. From the smallest breeze between grass blades to the vast trade winds that circle the globe, the atmosphere is always moving toward balance, always reshaping itself, always breathing. If you could see the path of the wind, it would appear as a vast, fluid sculpture in constant change, ribbons and spirals, eddies and waves, curling and twisting across the face of the earth. Scientists have mapped this invisible dance, tracing its motion with satellites and streams of color. It moves like the ocean, only faster, lighter, freer. Jet streams race around the planet at great heights, steering storms and shaping climates. Nearer the ground, wind curls through canyons and forests, guided by terrain, slowed by trees. In this way, every landscape writes its own signature in air. The wind touches all things, but leaves no mark of its own. Its shape is known only through its effects, the bending of grasses, the sway of branches, the ripples across a lake's surface. It sculpts dunes into crescents and ridges, carving patterns that move like waves over time. It polishes stones in deserts until they gleam, lifts dust into the sky to form red veils that drift for hundreds of miles. It spreads seeds from a single tree to forests far away, carrying life on invisible hands. The flowers that bloom on distant hillsides owe their existence to a breath that began continents away. In the ocean, wind stirs waves, setting the surface in motion. The sea's rhythm is born from air's motion, and the two have always moved together. Where wind is steady, it piles water into rolling swells that travel across the world, eventually breaking as gentle surf on some faraway shore. Each wave carries the memory of the wind that created it, a translation of energy from sky to sea. In this way, the wind speaks not only through air, but through every element it touches. When the wind moves through a forest, it becomes sound. The leaves transform its invisible flow into music, each tree adding its own note. Pines whisper in narrow tones, while oaks murmur deeply. Grasslands shimmer like strings. The forest breathes, the canopy sways, and for a moment, the air becomes instrument. Even the stillness after wind passes is not silence, but anticipation, the pause between one breath and the next. Wind is ancient. It has shaped continents, carried dust from the Sahara to the Amazon, and once sculpted dunes where oceans now rest. It moves not only across space, but through time. The air that touches your face has traveled far through the lungs of forests, across cities, over mountains, through clouds. Every molecule of air is old, part of an eternal cycle of movement that began when the world was young. The same winds that now bend the grass once swept through the canyons of a prehistoric earth, whispering over the bones of ancient seas. In its gentlest form, the wind soothes. A breeze cools the skin, rustles curtains, carries the scent of flowers or rain. It brings freshness to heat, comfort to stillness. In its strongest form, it tests. Storms gather when the balance of air becomes restless, when temperature, pressure, and moisture twist into spirals of force. Hurricanes, typhoons, and tornadoes are born from this unrest, reminders of the wind's vast power. Yet even in destruction, there is symmetry. These storms form perfect shapes, spirals, echoing galaxies, vortices mirroring the motion of water draining from a basin. The geometry of chaos remains beautiful, and after it passes, calm always returns. There are places on Earth where wind never stops. High deserts where it sings across open stone. Ice fields where it sweeps like breath over glass. In such places, you can hear its voice unbroken, low, endless, vast. It carries stories of every land it has touched, every mountain it has crossed. To stand in that current is to feel connection, to realize that the air you breathe is not yours alone, but shared by everything that lives. The same wind that brushes your cheek may have touched the wings of a bird on the other side of the world. It may have carried the scent of forests, the warmth of deserts, the salt of oceans. It is the one thing that truly belongs everywhere. At dawn, when air is cool and still, the first movement of wind feels like awakening. It stirs the grass, ripples the surface of lakes, carries mist across valleys. The world begins to breathe again. By afternoon, the motion grows, invisible currents rising with heat. Clouds form and drift, guided by the same unseen hands. And when night comes, the wind softens once more, cooling the ground, whispering through leaves before settling into rest. The planet's daily rhythm is written in these movements: expansion and contraction, rising and falling, inhalation and exhalation. We owe our very existence to this motion. Without wind, there would be no weather, no rain carried inland, no pollination across distance, no dispersal of seeds. The planet would stagnate, its air heavy and unmoving. The wind ensures circulation, the exchange of warmth, moisture, and breath. It connects every corner of the world through the unseen network of air. Even now, as you breathe, you participate in that exchange. What leaves your lungs may rise into a cloud tomorrow, may cross oceans, may one day return as a whisper against another's skin. There is something sacred about this invisibility. The wind asks for no witness, no recognition. It works quietly, shaping mountains and moods alike, touching everything without needing to be seen. It is both the softest and the strongest of nature's forces, a paradox of gentleness and persistence. Its power lies not in resistance, but in flow. If you close your eyes and stand still, you can feel the wind as presence cool on the skin, warm in its absence, constant yet fleeting. It carries the smell of earth after rain, the salt of distant waves, the scent of pine and pollen. Each gust is a message from somewhere else, a story arriving from the horizon. The wind reminds you that all things are connected, that distance is illusion, and that movement is the natural state of being. The world has been sculpted by this invisible artist since its beginning. Mountains are shaped by erosion, deserts by drifting dunes, coasts by the constant polishing of air and salt. Even the smallest pebble bears the touch of the wind's patient hands. Yet despite its power, the wind remains humble. It leaves no mark of itself, only the evidence of what it has transformed. In the end, to know the wind is to know impermanence. It cannot be held, only felt. It cannot be seen, only known by what it touches. It moves through all things, between all things, reminding us that life, too, is a motion unseen yet shaping, fleeting yet eternal. When the wind moves through your hair, through the grass, across the world, it is the same motion that once stirred the seas, that still turns the stars through space. It is the earth remembering how to breathe. 18. The ocean remembers the moon. Every tide is a memory. Each rise and fall of water, each pull and release along the world's edges, is the ocean remembering the moon. Though the two are separated by hundreds of thousands of kilometers, they are bound by gravity's invisible thread, a connection older than time as we measure it. The moon circles the earth in silence, and with every passing orbit, the sea responds, bending toward it in a rhythm that never breaks. Day and night, without pause or fatigue, the ocean moves in gentle obedience to its distant companion. If you stand at the shore, you can feel this memory unfold beneath your feet. The waves arrive not randomly, but in patterns that echo the moon's position above. When the moon is high, The water climbs the sand, reaching further inland. When it moves away, the sea retreats, leaving behind glistening traces of foam and shells. The ocean does not need to see the moon to know it is there. It feels the pull instinctively, as if responding to a wordless call. The physics of it are simple, yet the poetry infinite. The moon's gravity tugs at the earth, drawing the water nearest to it slightly upward, forming what we call the tidal bulge. On the opposite side of the planet, inertia creates another rise, a twin tide following the first. As the Earth rotates, these bulges move around it, creating the ebb and flow we see on every shore. But this movement is not merely mechanical. It is emotional, in the way the ocean seems to lean toward the moon with longing, then pull back, only to reach again. The tides are the Earth's slow dance, the gesture of devotion between sea and sky. Even before humans understood the mathematics of tides, they sensed this connection. Ancient navigators learned to read the moon's cycles as maps of the sea. Fishermen rose and rested according to its phases, knowing that certain tides brought abundance while others brought calm. In coastal cultures, the rhythm of life itself was set by lunar time, by the subtle shift between high and low, between fullness and retreat. The ocean's breath was their own. The moon's influence does not stop at the surface. Its gravitational pull reaches deep, stirring currents thousands of meters below. Water moves not only horizontally, but vertically, carrying nutrients and energy through the depths. This hidden motion feeds plankton, supports ecosystems, and regulates climate. The tides, though quiet, shape the balance of the entire planet. Without the moon, the oceans would still move with the wind, but their rhythm would lose its heart. The tides would shrink, the coasts would change, and life would follow a different tempo. Even the creatures of the deep feel this lunar rhythm. Coral reefs, for example, time their spawning to the light of the full moon, releasing clouds of eggs and sperm in perfect synchrony, ensuring that new life begins when the tides are right. Sea turtles crawl ashore under moonlight to lay their eggs, guided by the same glow that once stirred their ancestors. Crabs emerge from burrows at low tide to feed, then vanish again before the water returns. The moon's pull has written itself into their bodies, into their instincts, into the eternal choreography of life beneath the waves. And yet, the ocean does not only follow, it also remembers. Its movements carry the history of countless moons, every cycle leaving a subtle trace in currents, in sediments, in the shapes of shores. If you listen to the sound of the sea, the soft thunder of waves, the hiss of foam retreating, you are hearing a story millions of years long. The rhythm you feel in your chest when standing by the shore mirrors the planet's first rhythm, the one that began when the moon was young and the Earth was still learning to spin. The relationship between ocean and moon is one of balance. As the moon pulls the sea pulls back, exerting its own gentle gravity on the moon. This exchange slows the Earth's rotation ever so slightly, lengthening our days by fractions of a second each century. Over eons, this subtle drag has pushed the moon gradually farther away, about 4 centimeters every year. It is a separation so slow we can scarcely imagine it, yet it reminds us that even the most constant relationships evolve. The ocean remembers not only the moon's pull, but also its distance, a love story measured in movement and patience. When the moon is full, its light stretches across the sea like a silver road. The waves shimmer with it, reflecting every tremor of brightness. The water looks alive, breathing in rhythm with the sky. The moonlight travels down through the surface, scattering in shifting layers until it fades into blue and then to black. For the creatures below, this faint illumination marks the turning of time. For those above, it is an image of peace, light resting on motion, stillness reflected on the ever-moving sea. The tides influence even the air. As the water rises and falls, It changes pressure along the coasts, stirring breezes, moving mist. It carves estuaries, shapes cliffs, forms sandbars that come and go with the moon's phase. Everything near the ocean's edge lives according to this rhythm. Mangroves breathing with the tides, shorebirds timing their feeding to the retreating waves, humans drawn to the shoreline as if by instinct. The gravitational pull that moves entire oceans also stirs our inner waters. Our bodies, mostly liquid, respond subtly to the moon's cycle, our moods and sleep echoing its light and shadow. When storms come, the moon's influence can magnify their power, pulling tides higher, merging with wind and current in temporary fury. Yet even in that turbulence, balance prevails. The water always returns to calm. The moon never lets the ocean rise without bringing it back. The sea's trust. In that return is its greatest serenity. The certainty that no matter how far it stretches, it will always find its way home. Imagine standing on a quiet beach at night, the horizon barely visible under the moon's glow. The sound of waves folds into the rhythm of your breathing. You feel the pull, faint but unmistakable, as if the sea beneath your feet is alive and listening. Each wave that approaches seems to remember the one before it, not repetition, but continuation. The moon glides slowly overhead, patient and luminous, watching its reflection ripple across the surface. You realize that this dance has been going on for billions of years. Unbroken, effortless, eternal. The ocean remembers the moon because the two were born together, the moon from the Earth's own material, the ocean from its cooling surface. They are made of the same substance, separated yet entwined. Every tide is the Earth reaching toward its lost fragment, every wave a whisper of reunion. The moon keeps the oceans in motion, and in return, the oceans steady the Earth's rotation, keeping our seasons, our climates, our days. They are partners in balance, guardians of rhythm. When you leave the shore, the sea continues to move, guided by its memory of the moon. The tides will rise again tomorrow, as they always have, as they always will. The moon will trace its path across the night sky, slow and sure. Between them, they will keep the planet's breath steady, a harmony of water and light, gravity and grace. And in that quiet motion, in that endless giving and returning, the world remembers how to stay alive. 19. The Earth dreams in seasons. If you were to listen closely enough to the rhythm of the planet, you would find that it does not beat in seconds or minutes, but in seasons. The Earth dreams slowly, in cycles of warmth and cold, of growth and rest, of light and shadow. Each turn of its orbit around the sun is a single breath in a long and patient slumber. In this dream, nothing ends, everything transforms. The falling leaf becomes the seed's blanket. The snow becomes the river's beginning. The withering of one life feeds the rising of another. The seasons are the Earth's memory of change, and through them, the planet remembers how to renew itself. This dream begins with a tilt. The Earth leans gently on its axis, about 23.5 degrees off perfect balance. That small inclination is what gives us everything: the slow shift of sunlight across the globe, the long summer days and deep winter nights, the blossoming and fading of life in rhythm with the sky. As the planet travels around the sun, that tilt turns different hemispheres toward or away from light, writing the cycle of seasons in a language of warmth and shadow. Without this imperfection, this exquisite imbalance, there would be no rhythm, no contrast, no story for life to follow. When the world turns toward the sun, spring begins. It arrives not suddenly, but in whispers, a softening of the air, a shimmer of light through longer days, a quiet thaw beneath the soil. Seeds awaken, stirred by temperature and time. The first shoots of green push through frost-hardened ground, fragile yet unstoppable. The rivers run clearer, the birds return, and the air fills with sound again. It is not the loud joy of summer, but the gentle exhale of a world waking from sleep. Everything moves slowly, stretching, remembering. Spring is the Earth's renewal, but also its memory of resilience. It carries within it the echo of every winter before, every cold that the land has endured. Life emerges, not in defiance of that cold, but because of it. The long dormancy of winter gives roots time to strengthen, seeds time to rest, and soil time to recover. In this way, each season is contained within the others. Spring holds winter's patience. Summer holds spring's promise. Autumn holds summer's generosity. Winter holds them all. As spring ripens into summer, the world opens fully to the sun. The days lengthen. The air thickens with scent and color, and every leaf becomes a vessel for light. Photosynthesis quickens. The forests pulse with oxygen, and the oceans shimmer with plankton blooms. This is the season of abundance, the time when energy flows most freely through every living thing. The bees hum, the grass sways, and the sky stretches in endless blue. But even within this fullness, a quiet preparation has begun. Summer knows that its brightness will not last forever. Its warmth carries within it the seed of decline, the first faint turning of the year. By late summer, the light begins to soften, shadows lengthen, colors deepen, and the world takes on a golden hue. The days still hold heat, but the nights whisper of something changing. The earth's dream turns gently toward rest. Trees begin to draw energy back into their roots. Leaves prepare to let go. The cycle of abundance slowly transforms into one of release. Then comes autumn, the season of memory and transformation. The air cools, carrying the scent of soil and smoke. Forests blaze with color, each leaf a final flare before surrender. The wind gathers their falling forms, scattering them into rivers and fields, into the folds of the earth where they will feed the future. Nothing in autumn resists its own ending. The world seems to understand that letting go is not loss, but continuation, that decay is simply another form of creation. In this acceptance lies a profound peace. The earth is not dying. It is preparing to dream again. As winter arrives, the rhythm slows, almost to stillness. The ground hardens, rivers freeze, animals retreat into burrows or hibernate into silence. The trees stand bare, their branches like open hands against the sky. The air is thin and bright, every sound sharper for its rarity. It is easy to mistake winter for emptiness, but within its quiet rests the deepest work of all. Beneath the frozen surface, roots continue to breathe. Seeds wait patiently for warmth. The snow, far from lifeless, insulates and preserves. Winter is the earth's meditation, a pause between heartbeats, a silence that restores. In the coldest months, when night seems endless, the planet is not sleeping in death, but dreaming in renewal. Its stillness allows balance. Energy retreats only to gather strength for the next awakening. The cycle depends on this restraint, for without rest, there can be no rebirth. The earth dreams slowly, and from that patience comes all life. The transition between seasons is never abrupt. It unfolds like a long inhale and exhale, a blending rather than a boundary. Even as snow falls, there are hints of spring beneath it. Even in the heat of summer, the cool of evening carries the memory of frost. The earth's dream does not stop and start. It flows. The seasons are the body's breathing, the planet's pulse. Human life, too, once moved with these rhythms. Our ancestors woke with the light and rested with the dark. They planted by the phase of the moon, harvested by the tilt of the sun. They celebrated the solstices and equinoxes, the turning points of the planet's dream, as sacred thresholds, moments when the earth seemed to breathe more deeply. Even now, when cities glow through night and air conditioning softens the edges of heat and cold, our bodies remember. We feel the pull of longer days, the introspection of winter nights, the restlessness of spring. The rhythm of the earth still beats within us, unchanged by modern haste. There is a kind of music to the seasons, though it cannot be heard in notes or scales. It exists in temperature, in color, in scent. Spring is a melody of water and wind. Summer is percussion, the steady hum of insects, the drumming of rain. Autumn carries harmony, warm and resonant. Winter, the slow bass of silence, holds them all in balance. Together they form a song that has played since the world began, a composition of time itself. When the snow melts and the rivers swell again, when the buds unfold in light, the earth's dream renews. It is the same dream it has always dreamed, the endless conversation between creation and rest, between warmth and cold, between light and shadow. We, too, are part of that conversation, our lives shaped by its rhythm, whether we notice it or not. To stand beneath the changing sky, to feel the turning of seasons on your skin, is to feel the earth remembering itself spinning through space with gentle constancy, dreaming its quiet dream of renewal. Every petal that opens, every leaf that falls, every flake of snow that lands silently on the ground is part of that dream. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is forgotten. And so the cycle continues, as it always has, spring to summer, summer to autumn, autumn to winter, and winter to spring again. The earth does not rush through its dreaming. It lingers, breathes, transforms. It knows that beauty lies not in permanence, but in return. In each season's passing, the planet whispers the same message in 1,000 forms, that change is not something to fear, but the very nature of being alive. 20. The stars wait patiently for our sleep. When night falls, the world exhales. The air cools, the colors dim, and everything that moved in daylight softens its pace. The noise of day fades until what remains is simple, the sound of wind, the rhythm of breath, the quiet pulse of the earth turning. Above it all, the stars emerge. One by one, they bloom across the dark, like seeds of light, scattered over an infinite field. They do not rush their arrival. They wait, patient and eternal, for the world to rest enough to see them. The stars have been waiting for us since the beginning. Long before eyes existed to look upward, they burned silently, scattering photons across a universe still finding its shape. Every night they return, though not the same ones we saw before. Some have already vanished, their light still on its journey through space. Others are only now being born in distant clouds of gas and dust. Yet to us, standing beneath their glow, they feel timeless, a quiet permanence in a changing world. They are the one thing that always remains when everything else has gone to sleep. If you step outside on a still night and look up, you are seeing deep time made visible. The light from the nearest star, besides our sun, took over 4 years to reach you. The light from others has traveled thousands, even millions of years, crossing the void without slowing, unbent by darkness. Some of the light that touches your eyes tonight began its journey before there were humans to receive it. In this way, starlight is both memory and message, a whisper from the universe's past, arriving in the present moment. The night sky has always been our oldest map. Before compasses and clocks, people looked upward to find direction and meaning. They traced shapes between stars, hunters, birds, rivers of light stories, written in constellations that guided them across deserts and seas. The stars taught navigation, but they also taught wonder. To gaze at them was to feel both small and infinite, to sense that we belonged to something vast and mysterious. The ancients understood that the sky was not above us, but around us, a cosmic ocean in which Earth quietly floats. Even now, when cities glow with artificial light, drowning the stars from view, the body still feels their absence. We have evolved beneath their gaze. Our sleep follows their rhythm. Our internal clocks are tuned to the balance of light and dark they define. When the stars appear, the mind relaxes. The body recognizes the cue. It is time to rest, to yield to night's gentle gravity. The stars, indifferent yet benevolent, remind us that even the universe has its cycles of brightness and shadow. The stars themselves are not fixed, though they seem so from our brief perspective. They drift slowly across the galaxy, orbiting its center like particles in a vast whirlpool. Their lives follow patterns of birth, maturity, and death. A star forms from the collapse of a gas cloud, igniting fusion within its core. It burns for millions or billions of years, then expands, fades, and releases its matter back into space. From that matter, new stars are born. Even here, at the grandest scale, the universe dreams in cycles. Nothing is truly lost. It only changes form. And within that endless exchange lies our own story. Every element in our bodies, heavier than hydrogen, the iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen we breathe, was forged in the heart of a star that died long before the Earth existed. We are made of the same light we see in the sky. When we gaze upward, we are not looking at something foreign or distant. We are looking at the place we came from. The stars are both our ancestors and our mirror. At night, when the world grows still and the mind begins to drift, the stars become companions to our sleep. Their faint light filters through windows, guiding dreams the way they once guided travelers. In the vast quiet of darkness, they seem to hum with calm, not sound, but a presence, a steady vibration that reminds the body to slow its pulse. The night is their conversation with us, a wordless assurance that rest is not an ending, but part of the rhythm of existence. Some nights, clouds hide them, and the sky becomes a soft, formless gray. Yet the stars remain, shining beyond sight. Their patience is infinite. They do not demand to be seen. They simply are. And when the clouds part, they return without fanfare, as they have for countless generations. Their persistence is a lesson in serenity, to continue shining even when unseen, to trust that your light will reach where it needs to go, even if no one is watching. There is a strange comfort in knowing that the stars outlast everything we know. Civilizations rise and fall, languages fade, mountains erode, and seas shift their boundaries, but the stars endure. Their distances are so great that even change itself appears as stillness. Looking up, we are seeing both motion and pause, the universe unfolding too slowly for our eyes to detect. It is this vast slowness that soothes the restless human heart. Under the stars, time feels less urgent, and the self feels less confined. Astronomers, peering into the depths of space, have found that the further they look, the further back in time they see. Light carries history with it, stretching across billions of years. The stars are storytellers, their photons traveling to tell us what once was. To study them is to listen to echoes of creation, to trace the faint hum of the universe's first breath. Even the cosmic background radiation, the leftover whisper of the Big Bang, is a lullaby of origins, still resonating through every corner of space. Perhaps that is why the stars calm us so deeply. They remind us that we are part of something immeasurably vast yet intimately connected. The same gravity that binds galaxies holds our feet to the ground. The same atoms that make their fire fuel our thoughts and dreams. When you lie beneath their glow, breathing in the cool night air, you are participating in the universe's oldest act, the exchange of light and silence. In that silence, sleep comes gently. The stars do not rush us toward it. They wait. They have all the time in existence. Their steady presence tells the body that it is safe to surrender, that rest is natural, that stillness belongs to life as much as movement. The stars do not sleep, but they understand it. Their very light travels in dreams, a slow unfolding across the void, unhurried, serene. And when you finally close your eyes, the stars remain above, shining for you without expectation. Their light continues its journey, crossing oceans and mountains, touching waves and windows and faces, waiting for the next pair of eyes to rise toward them. They keep their vigil over the sleeping earth, patient and enduring, their brightness softened by distance, their purpose simple. They are the universe watching itself with kindness. They are the promise that darkness is not emptiness, but a cradle for light. And as you drift into sleep, the stars continue to shine, waiting, as they always have, for you to wake and remember them once more.